Chapter 28. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Qin Yu moved his wrist as if he was trying to challenge their shock. The hell-suppressing godly spear, which weighed 50,000 pounds, whizzed and spun in his hand like a wheel of wind and fire. A wave of strong wind that seemed to have materialized whistled and swept out. It's quite suitable. Qin Yu held the hell-suppressing divine spear with a smile on his face. Just as he had expected, the hell-suppressing divine spear could not increase one's true qi, but it could increase one's blood qi. After the first level of the fire lightning dragon body, one's strength could reach 120,000 kilograms. In other words, it was an increase of 20,000 kilograms. When the fire lightning dragon body continued to break through, the increase in strength would be further increased. It could be said that the hell-suppressing divine spear was suitable for Qin Yu at this stage. Wait. Seeing that Qin Yu was about to leave with the hell-suppressing divine spear, Yunshi came back to his senses and stopped Qin Yu. How can you lift the hell-suppressing divine spear? How did you do it? These words were not only Yunshi's question. Jiang Long and the others also looked to Qin Yu. It's very simple. As long as your physical strength exceeds the weight of the spear, it will be fine. Qin Yu said casually. You mean, your physical strength has exceeded 50,000? Yunshi blinked in disbelief. Although Qin Yu's body was tall and straight, it was obvious that he was not strong. No matter how one looked at it, he did not look like he had more than 50,000 kilograms of weight. Qin Yu lightly tossed the hell-suppressing divine spear in his hand as an answer. Immediately, Qin Yu ignored Yunshi and the others and turned to leave the 100 Treasures building. What a monster! Jiang Long could not help but exclaim as he watched Qin Yu walk away with the spear on his shoulder. Qin Yu was able to lift the hell-suppressing divine spear so easily. Obviously, his physical strength was far above 50,000. Not only did he have a top 9th grade martial vein, but his body refining technique was also outstanding. After leaving the 100 Treasures building, Qin Yu returned to his loft and played with the hell-suppressing divine spear vigorously. After getting used to the weight of the hell-suppressing divine spear, Qin Yu stopped and returned to his room to cultivate. Qin Yu, these are your resources for this month. The next day, when the sun had just risen, Jiang Long came and gave him a pile of cultivation resources. Spirit Awakening Pill? After Qin Yu put away the spirit stones and pills, he took out one of the jade bottles. The Spirit Awakening Pill could help martial artists awaken their own true qi. It was a good medicine to help martial artists break through to the Earth martial arts realm. According to the rules of the Saint Academy, the freshman competition of the 4 academies will be held in a month. Qin Yu, this time, you have to make our Northern Academy proud. This was the reason why Jiang Long gave Qin Yu the Spirit Awakening Pill. Because the top freshmen of the other 3 academies had already entered the Earth martial arts realm. Jiang Long was worried that Qin Yu would be at a disadvantage against them, so he specially prepared an awakening pill. Thank you, Elder Jiang. Qin Yu tossed the jade bottle in his hand and chuckled. If an ordinary cultivator at the peak of the profound martial realm obtained a spiritual awakening pill, they would be extremely excited. However, Qin Yu didn't have much of a reaction. He originally planned to refine it himself and even bought the spiritual herbs. Forget it, I'll just make do with it. After returning to his room, Qin Yu placed the Spirit Awakening Pill in his palm and completely absorbed its effect in an instant. Immediately, the 2 dragon veins in Qin Yu's body vibrated, and the battle dragon true qi suddenly boiled. Boom! Finally, a violent muffled explosion sounded in Qin Yu's body, and the aura on his body was dozens of times stronger. Qin Yu's cultivation had broken through the bottleneck and entered the Earth martial arts realm in one fell swoop. After another quarter of an hour, the battle dragon true qi in his body, which was originally light golden, gradually turned pitch black. Dark attribute. Qin Yu was a little surprised. He didn't expect this body to have the dark attribute. There are many branches of the dark attribute. Let's see what kind of ability it is. The dragon soul said, if it conflicts with the battle dragon true qi, then you can only give it up. Qin Yu nodded. After carefully sensing it, the surprise on his face became even more obvious. It's actually devouring. The true qi attribute that Qin Yu awakened was dark devouring, which could devour the opponent's true chi and even martial arts. The dark devouring attribute is quite rare. The dragon soul was also a little surprised. This attribute was much stronger than the flame attribute that Qin Yu had in his previous life. Dragon soul, did you sense the dragon bloodline in the imperial city? Qin Yu didn't dwell on this question. He stood up and asked while stretching his body. Yes, but that direction is the imperial city. The dragon soul had already sensed it before coming. The imperial city is where the Zhenwu royal family lives. I can't enter for the time being, so I can only rely on the power of pills. With this thought in mind, Qin Yu left the attic and planned to buy pills to refine the earth martial arts realm. After leaving the loft, Qin Yu walked out of the northern courtyard's boundary and passed through a training square. Suddenly, a huge clamor entered Qin Yu's ears. This is the cultivation array of our north courtyard. What right does your east courtyard have to occupy it? Somewhere in the cultivation square, the students of the 4 courtyards were gathered together. There were hundreds of spirit-gathering cultivation towns around them. Cultivating in those towns would speed up a lot. But now, the people of the east courtyard and the north courtyard were in conflict because of those cultivation arrays. Qin Yu took a look and was not interested in this kind of thing, so he planned to leave. However, in the next moment, a wild laughter caused his footsteps to pause. Why? Because the north courtyard is full of trash. It's too wasteful to let trash like you use the cultivation arrays. Is this reason enough? The one who laughed was Zhu Tianlang. You, a freshman, dare to laugh at our north courtyard. I think you're courting death. A strong young man from the north courtyard strode toward Zhu Tianlang, his tyrannical aura bursting out. The cultivation of the 7th level earth martial arts realm. Looking at your age, you must have been in the Saint Academy for several years, but your cultivation is only at the 7th level earth martial arts realm. It seems that the north courtyard is full of trash. Zhu Tianlang glanced at the strong young man and smiled contemptuously. I'd like to see what kind of ability you have to be so arrogant. The strong young man was angry. He threw out a palm, and light cyan genuine chi swept out like a hurricane. Its power was amazing. It was a 3rd level earth rank martial skill, Hurricane Palm. Everyone saw it. He was the one who attacked first. After successfully infuriating the strong young man, Zhu Tianlang smiled sinisterly. He clenched his right hand into a fist, and the violent genuine chi of fire burst out, condensing into a fierce and explosive fire wolf. Zhu Tianlang rushed forward, and his right fist was like a fire wolf, fiercely attacking the strong young man. It was the 7th level earth rank martial skill of the Zhu family, Fire Wolf Fist. Bang! The two suddenly collided, and a violent collision sound was heard. The hurricane and the fire waves shook, and the two people's bodies also trembled. Puff! But soon, the strong young man from the north courtyard turned pale. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was directly sent flying. Look, a 7th level earth martial arts realm warrior can't beat me. A 5th level earth martial arts realm warrior. It's true that they're trash. Zhu Tianlang dispersed the genuine chi in his fist, crossed his arms, and looked at the people from the north courtyard with a proud face. Damn it. If I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know how strong you are. The students of the north courtyard were angry and gathered together. What's the matter? Does your northern district wish to exchange blows with our eastern district? Hehe. It seems that you've forgotten the lesson of the last 4 courtyard competition. The students of the east courtyard gathered together, and their number was several times more than that of the north courtyard. This was also the reason why the east courtyard dominated the cultivation formation of the north courtyard. The conflict between the two sides was about to break out. Chapter 29. If you don't mind, I'll join in the fun. At this moment, a chuckle was heard. It's you. Zhu Tianlang narrowed his eyes. That white-clothed youngster who was slowly walking over was surprisingly Qin Yu. Zhu Tianlang's face darkened and his eyes flashed with resentment. Because of the matter with Qin Yu, he was severely punished by Elder Lu of the Punishment Institute. The whip scars on his back are still painful even now. Qin Yu, I heard you've joined the most useless northern courtyard. You're pretty self-aware, aren't you? Zhu Tianlang stares at Qin Yu with a ferocious and cold smile. I don't know if the northern campus is useless or not, but I know that you're more useless than me. Qin Yu looked at Zhu Tianlang with a chuckle. Is that so? Why don't we have a competition? Zhu Tianlang's face twitched and his eyes became even more sinister. Although he had seen Qin Yu's combat strength, he didn't think that he was weaker than Qin Yu. In the ancient desolate mountain range, if Qin Yu didn't have a 7th stage Sky Martial Realm Bloodflame Chelin, he would have killed Qin Yu. Now that they were in the Imperial Sacred Academy, Qin Yu wouldn't take out the Bloodflame Chelin, so he had no fear. Sure. Qin Yu's eyes flashed coldly. When Zhu Tianlang was looking for trouble in the ancient desolate mountain range, Qin Yu let him go because he had a Sky Martial Realm Cultivator to protect him. He didn't expect that Zhu Tianlang would look for trouble again in the Imperial Sacred Academy. Qin Yu wanted to kill Zhu Tianlang because of Zhu Tianlang's repeated provocations. When the surrounding students saw this, they spread out and created a large space. Zhu Tianlang waved his right hand and a long sword appeared in his hand. It was a 7th grade spiritual weapon of the yellow class. Among the students in the Earth Martial Realm, Zhu Tianlang was probably one of the best. Qin Yu stood there calmly without taking out the hell-suppressing divine spear. This caused the northern campus students to be rather flabbergasted. In a situation where there was a difference of 5 levels, was Qin Yu planning to fight barehanded? Thud. As soon as the spiritual sword appeared, Zhu Tianlang, who had a ferocious sneer on his face, made his move. He took a few steps forward and used a movement technique to rush towards Qin Yu. The sharp sword in his hand was covered with a fiery true qi, like a flaming longsword. Fire wave sword. Zhu Tianlang shouted when he entered the attack range. The long sword danced in the void again and again. The flame genuine qi intertwined and turned into waves of flame. Following the space of the sharp sword, it attacked Qin Yu. This move was a 9th grade Earth-ranked martial skill. It was more than 10 times stronger than the Fire Wolf Fist from before. Break. Qin Yu didn't even try to dodge. Instead, he threw out a punch. The battle dragon true qi inside his body roared, and a deafening explosion resounded. Immediately, the waves of flames that came one after another were directly shattered. An extremely powerful vacuum fist force even blasted onto Zhu Tianlang's body. At this moment, a wave of spiritual weapon fluctuations emanated from Zhu Tianlang's body and offset nearly half of the force. Do you have a spiritual weapon armor? Qin Yu raised his eyebrows slightly. His original plan to kill by accident had to stop here. Puff. Even so, Zhu Tianlang still spat out blood and fell heavily to the ground. Zhu Tianlang's face was pale and his breathing was rapid. He looked at Qin Yu in horror. If the spiritual weapon hadn't blocked nearly half of the power of Qin Yu's punch, he would have most likely died under Qin Yu's fist force. Qin Yu wanted to kill him. A 5th grade Earth Martial Realm warrior with a spiritual weapon couldn't even take a punch from a 1st grade Earth Martial Realm warrior. TSK, are all the geniuses of the East Campus like you? Qin Yu looked at Zhu Tianlang with a smile. Puff. Zhu Tianlang, who was already severely injured, spat out another mouthful of blood and fainted in anger. This scene caused the surrounding students to look at Qin Yu with a strange expression. They were already surprised when Zhu Tianlang defeated a student from the North Campus who was 2 grades higher than him. They didn't expect that there would be an even fiercer one now. Surpassing the 5th grade Earth Martial Realm warrior and winning with one move was beyond their expectations. The show is over. Let's disperse. Qin Yu waved his hand at the students of the East Campus. Who do you think you are? An 8th grade Earth Martial Realm student from the East Campus stood out with a gloomy face. What else do you want? Qin Yu asked indifferently. In his eyes, there was no difference between a 5th grade Earth Martial Realm warrior and an 8th grade Earth Martial Realm warrior. It's simple. If you want us to leave, you have to defeat me first. The 8th grade Earth Martial Realm student moved his neck and a cracking sound was heard. You. Qin Yu glanced at him and shook his head slightly. What? You don't dare. The 8th grade Earth Martial Realm student's face darkened. Qin Yu didn't take him seriously at all. Come at me together. Qin Yu waved at all the students of the East Campus. Arrogant. He doesn't know how high the sky is after defeating a freshman. Lei Meng, teach him a lesson. Let him know what he is. Qin Yu's words angered all the students of the East Campus. They roared again and again. You overestimate yourself. Take my saber. That 8th grade Earth Martial Stage student is holding a 4th grade yellow-ranked battle blade in his hand. He is aggressively chopping at Qin Yu. Bang! Before the crowd could see what was going on, the 8th grade Earth Martial Realm student who attacked flew back at an even faster speed and crashed into a group of students of the East Campus. An 8th grade Earth Martial Realm student only used one punch. The students of the North Campus were shocked by Qin Yu again. You're courting death. Kill him. The students of the East Campus who were affected flew into a rage and rushed at Qin Yu one after another. 100 shadow demonic steps. A smile appeared on the corners of Qin Yu's mouth. With a flash of his body, numerous after-images appeared. The next moment, a series of low and fierce punches accompanied by painful howls appeared. The students of the North Campus who were about to rush up to help all froze in place, dumbfounded. In the blink of an eye, one person defeated all the students of the Earth Martial Arts realm in the East Campus. Wasn't Qin Yu too fierce? If he was at the peak of the Earth Martial Arts realm, they wouldn't be so shocked. But Qin Yu was only at the 1st grade Earth Martial Arts realm. Now he could defeat a group of Earth Martial Arts realm students. If he broke through a few more levels, wouldn't he be invincible in the Earth Martial Arts realm? No wonder he could pick up the suppressing Hell Spear. He was so strong that he was abnormal. The disciples of the South Campus and the West Campus who were watching the show all looked at Qin Yu as if he were a monster. The North Campus, which had always been the weakest, actually had such a strong person. It was incredible. Looking at the wailing students of the East Campus, Qin Yu withdrew his violent genuine chi and was ready to leave. You're going to leave after beating them up? However, at this moment, a slightly gloomy and cold voice sounded. Qin Yu looked back. He saw a tall young man with rough facial features coming over with a group of students of the East Campus. However, those students were all in the Sky Martial Arts realm. None of them was in the Earth Martial Arts realm. Obviously, they were the elite students of the East Campus. Oh no, it's Lu Shanhe from the East Campus. Junior Qin Yu, he is the 5th master in the Sky Martial Arts realm of the East Campus. Be careful. The excited students of the North Campus all changed their faces when they saw the rough young man and others. Chapter 30. You've already fought. Are you going to stay for dinner if you don't leave? Qin Yu turned around and looked at Lu Shanhe, who was the leader, up and down. He was in the 9th level of the Sky Martial Arts realm. In terms of cultivation, he was stronger than Yun Shi, who was the strongest in the Northern Academy. According to the rules of the Saint Academy, students are forbidden to fight in private, but you hurt so many people in public. Today, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of the punishment institution. Seeing that Qin Yu was fearless, Lu Shanhe's eyes turned cold. His strong body, with an amazing oppressive momentum, pounced on Qin Yu like a fierce tiger. Whoosh! When Qin Yu was about to make a move, a low and deafening sound broke through the air. A half-foot-long iron stick surrounded by light blue spiritual patterns hit Lu Shanhe in the air. Ha! Lu Shanhe's face changed slightly. He shouted and quickly changed his attack. He clenched his hands into fists and condensed golden genuine chi. His fists were like 2 golden ancient bells, and he punched the light blue iron stick hard. Thump! 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 2 fists and 1 stick collided, and the violent energy raged. Lu Shanhe's body shook, and he retreated dozens of steps before he could stabilize his body. Whoosh! A figure leaped through the air, grabbed the light green iron rod that was flying backward, and landed on the ground. Lu Shanhe, if you want to fight, I can play with you. The person who came was Yun Shi, who was wearing a blue martial arts suit and had a curvy figure. She held the blue thunder stick and stood in front of the students of the Northern Academy. Her momentum was quite amazing. Haha, it's Sister Yun Shi. I'm no match for you. How dare I fight with you? When Lu Shanhe saw Yun Shi appear, he actually chuckled and directly admitted defeat. There was an obscure fiery look in his eyes as he looked at Yun Shi. Students in the Sky Martial Arts realm of the 4 academies have an agreement that they can't fight with students in the Earth Martial Arts realm. If you want to destroy this student, Don't blame me for fighting with you in the future. Yunshi raised her small face and said domineeringly. The corner of Lu Shanha's eyes twitched. When he pursued Yunshi in the past, he had fought with her in order to get closer to her. In the end, after the sparring session, he was bedridden for half a month. Since then, he had not dared to provoke Yunshi. Firstly, it was because his strength was not as good as Yunshi's. Secondly, Yunshi had an elder brother in the inner courtyard. That was a demon who even dared to beat up a prince. If he provoked Yunshi, he probably wouldn't even know how he died. Sister Yunshi, this is the fault of this student from the northern district. He didn't know how to control his strength. Look, so many people from the eastern district have been injured, Lu Shanha chuckled. Don't think that I don't know what's going on. Your East Campus actually dares to take over the cultivation formations of the Sacred Institute. Do you really think that your East Campus is the only one in the Sacred Institute? Yunshi snorted coldly. The reason why she was able to rush over in time was that a student from the Northern College had informed her of the situation, so she naturally knew the whole story. Go. Being reprimanded by Yunshi, Lu Shanha's expression turned ugly. However, he did not dare to direct his anger at Yunshi. Instead, he directed it at Qin Yu. If it weren't for Qin Yu, he would not have been so humiliated in front of Yunshi. Lu Shanha glanced at Qin Yu with a gloomy and cold look, then left with his people. At this point, the conflict between the Eastern District and the Northern District had come to an end. Junior brother Qin Yu, I didn't expect you to be so strong. It seems that even if I go to the inner courtyard in the future, you can lead the Northern District well. Yunshi turned her right hand and put the green thunder rod into Wang Shumi's ring. The students of the Northern District also came over one after another. After today's incident, Qin Yu had been recognized by all the students of the Northern District. Those students in the Earth martial arts realm were even more respectful. Qin Yu smiled. After a few polite words, he said goodbye and left. Junior brother Qin Yu, you just provoked the people of the Eastern District. Now you dare to leave the Sacred Institute. Aren't you afraid of their revenge? Seeing that Qin Yu was about to leave the Sacred Institute, Yunshi walked up curiously. Oh, I can't stay in the Northern District all the time just because I got into trouble. Of course, Qin Yu didn't care about the people of the Eastern District. With his current strength, even if he didn't use his trump card, he wouldn't be afraid of those in the sky martial arts realm. Where are you going? Yunshi smiled. She admired Qin Yu's calm and confident demeanor, which was very similar to her brother's temperament. I'm going to stroll around the Imperial City and buy some spiritual herbs. Qin Yu said. Good, I'm also going to the Thousand Weapons Pavilion. Yunshi said, and the two of them walked together. The Thousand Weapons Pavilion? To buy spiritual weapons? Yes, I customized a top spiritual weapon of the 9th grade of the yellow grade with heavenly meteorite stone last month. It should have been refined by now. Yunshi smiled. The iron rod on her now was only a 6th grade of the yellow grade. If she had a new spiritual weapon, her strength would increase again. Heavenly meteorite stone is very rare. You're in luck. Heavenly meteorite stone was a strange stone that fell with meteorites. It contained the power of stars and was extremely hard. Even a martial king realm warrior couldn't break it. Spiritual weapons made of heavenly meteorite stone were loved by many martial artists and were in short supply. The Thousand Weapons Pavilion is the strongest spiritual weapon trading company in the Great Eastern Domain. It's rumored that behind the Thousand Weapons Pavilion is the Formation Tool Alliance. Therefore, the Thousand Weapons Pavilion can take out rare materials. Yunshi said, last time I was in the Thousand Weapons Pavilion, I even saw a large piece of primal chaos stone. Unfortunately, Master Tianqiong had something to do and went out. Otherwise, it would have been integrated into my new spiritual weapon, primal chaos stone. Hearing Yunshi's words, Qin Yu stopped in his tracks. Are you sure it's primal chaos stone? Qin Yu's eyes flickered with joy as he interrupted Yunshi and asked. Of course, the pavilion master of the Thousand Weapons Pavilion personally showed it to me. After nodding, Yunshi looked at the excited Qin Yu and asked in confusion, what's wrong with you? Nothing, let's go to the Thousand Weapons Pavilion first. Qin Yu said. It's impossible to have primal chaos stone in this small place, right? The dragon soul in the divine dragon ancient seal said in surprise. Not necessarily. Even the Imperial Sacred Academy has a martial ancestor realm. The martial arts standard of this continent may not be as low as we think. Qin Yu thought to himself. If there really is primal chaos stone, then you can refine a spiritual array disk and move the heaven punishment array into it in the future. Ordinary array inscriptionists basically relied on array flags and array diagrams to set up arrays. However, Qin Yu had studied the array flags and array diagrams and created a spiritual array disk. There was only one use for a spirit array disk, and that was to store spirit arrays. However, it could be instantly released when needed. In Qin Yu's previous life, the spiritual array disk was one of his major battle powers. The endless killing arrays that burst out in an instant was a headache for many sovereigns. The imperial city was huge. Qin Yu and Yun Shi walked for more than 2 hours before they arrived at the Thousand Weapons Pavilion. Miss Yun Shi. When the deacon of the Thousand Weapons Pavilion saw Yun Shi, he hurried forward respectfully. Deacon Duan, has my spiritual weapon been refined? Yun Shi asked directly. You've come at the right time. Please follow me. Deacon Duan led Yun Shi and Qin Yu to the VIP room on the 2nd floor. Miss Yun Shi, please take a look. Deacon Duan took out the spiritual weapon that Yun Shi had newly refined from a sealed jade box. This time, Yun Shi had refined a long spear. The long spear was only 8 feet long, but it weighed 18,000 kilograms. The tip and body of the spear flickered with starlight. In addition to the power of the heavenly meteorite, there were also 3 arrays inscribed on it. Chapter 31. It is indeed a yellow grade 9 spiritual weapon. Yun Luo swung the starry spear vigorously, a smile on her face. The spear was made of heavenly meteorite stone and star crystal. The tip of the spear was indestructible and the body was full of tenacity. On the spear, there were 3 great formations inscribed: armor break, gravity, and lightning flash. Even among the yellow grade 9 spiritual weapons, the star spear was definitely a fine item. Deacon Duan, I heard that your pavilion has a primal chaos stone for sale? Qin Yu asked Deacon Duan when Yun Shi was playing with the star spear. Primal chaos stone? Young master, unfortunately, the primal chaos stone has been reserved. Deacon Duan said. Reserved? Qin Yu was stunned and said, how about I buy the primal chaos stone at double the price? It's not about the price. Deacon Duan shook his head and said. Junior Qin Yu, what do you think of the star spear? At this moment, Yun Shi walked over with the star spear and asked Qin Yu. Qin Yu, who was thinking about how to take the primal chaos stone, looked at the star spear and shook his head subconsciously. If those geniuses who followed him to cultivate the array and weapon Dao in his previous life were to forge such a spiritual weapon, he would probably expel them directly. Junior Qin Yu, do you think the star spear is not good enough? Yun Shi noticed Qin Yu shaking his head and couldn't help but ask. It's SOSO. Qin Yu said casually. Yun Shi was slightly stunned and Deacon Duan also laughed. The star spear is only a yellow-grade spiritual weapon after all. Naturally, it can't be compared to the hell-suppressing divine spear. Yun Shi chuckled when he thought of the earth-grade spiritual weapon on Qin Yu, the hell-suppressing divine spear. I'm not saying the grade is SOSO, but the person who forged this spiritual weapon is SOSO. Qin Yu heard this and said, Young master, aren't you being a little too arrogant? Deacon Duan was stunned and looked at Qin Yu with displeasure. If it weren't for the fact that Qin Yu was brought in by Yun Shi, he would have chased him away. After being in the true martial dynasty for so many years, this was the first time he saw someone who dared to say that the skills of their 10,000 weapon pavilions blacksmiths were ordinary. It's just the truth. Qin Yu said flatly, of course, if you don't want to listen, you can pretend that I didn't say anything. If not for the fact that he wanted to obtain the primal chaos high essence stone, he would have given an even lower evaluation. Since I've heard it, I can't pretend that I didn't hear it. At this moment, a maniacal voice sounded. A tall and handsome man in luxurious clothes strode in. Young Master Wu. When Deacon Duan saw the handsome man, he hurriedly bowed respectfully. Young Master Wu Xingyun. She also nodded at the handsome man. This handsome man was Grandmaster Tianqiong's disciple and a famous refining genius of the true martial dynasty. Miss Yunxi, are you satisfied with the heavenly star spear? Wu Xing smiled and asked Yunxi. Of course, I'm satisfied. Yunxi smiled. Just as she was about to ease the stiff atmosphere caused by Qin Yu's words, Wu Xing spoke first. Sir, you just said that the person who refined the heavenly star spear was ordinary, right? Wu Xing turned to look at Qin Yu, but there was no smile on his face. That's right. Qin Yu said frankly. Then do you know who refined the heavenly star spear? When Wu Xing saw this, a cold smile appeared on his face. This can't be. When Yunxi saw Wu Xing's expression, she seemed to have thought of something. That's right. The heavenly star spear was refined by my master, Grandmaster Tianqiong. Wu Xing said proudly. Grandmaster Tianqiong is back. Yunxi's face flashed with joy. Grandmaster Tianqiong's refining skills were famous not only in the true martial dynasty, but even in the entire Great Eastern Territory. In the true martial dynasty, no one dared to question the titles of Elixir King, Grandmaster Guyuan, and Grandmaster Tianqiong. My master happened to come back half a month ago. As Wu Xing said, he looked at Qin Yu with disdain. Now, do you still think that the refining method of the heavenly star spear is ordinary? That's the truth. Yunxi was about to smooth things over, but Qin Yu shrugged slightly, which made Yunxi's eyes slightly glazed. Qin Yu was too arrogant. Didn't he know who Grandmaster Tianqiong was? You also know how to refine weapons? Wu Xing was so angry that he laughed. Of course. Qin Yu also laughed. Artifact forging wasn't his specialty, but what was the most important thing for an outstanding spirit artifact other than the high grade of spirit materials? Formation. The reason why spiritual weapons could increase the power of genuine qi was because of the formation inscribed on them. Qin Yu was a master of both alchemy and formation in his previous life. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been so many emperor-level figures who didn't hesitate to ask him for guidance. Is that so? Then I'm curious. You said that the refining method of the heavenly star spear was ordinary. I wonder what you mean by ordinary. Wu Xing raised his eyebrows and glanced at Qin Yu. He looked like he had just reached adulthood. No matter how he looked, he didn't look like he knew how to refine weapons. With the spiritual materials of this spear, if it was refined by a powerful refiner, it would be enough to refine an earth-grade spiritual weapon. Even if it was slightly inferior, it would at least be a profound-grade spiritual weapon. But now, this spear has stopped at a yellow-grade spiritual weapon. To be honest, I really don't dare to compliment this refining method. Qin Yu took the heavenly star spear from Yunxi and said, Earth-grade spiritual weapon? And it's at least a profound-grade spiritual weapon? Kid, do you think that profound-grade and earth-grade spiritual weapons are cabbages that you can refine whenever you want? Wu Xing laughed wantonly. Even Yunxi felt that Qin Yu was a little ignorant. Putting earth-grade spiritual weapons aside, the Zhenwu dynasty didn't even have many high-grade profound-grade spiritual weapons. Every high-grade profound rank and earth-rank spirit artifact required a large amount of spiritual materials and a considerable amount of luck to be able to refine it. Not to mention that her heavenly star spear only used 2 spiritual materials, heavenly meteorite and stellar crystal. How about this? How about we make a bet? Qin Yu didn't care about Wu Xing's words. Instead, he tossed the heavenly star spear in his hand and chuckled. What do you mean? Wu Xing frowned, not understanding the meaning of Qin Yu's words. I heard that your 1000-weapon pavilion has the primal chaos stone, right? If I can upgrade the heavenly star spear to the profound grade, you will give me the primal chaos stone. Do you dare to bet? The smile on Qin Yu's face grew wider. This guy, with a glance, had an extraordinary status in the 1000-weapon pavilion. If he made a move, he should be able to get the primal chaos stone, right? In the dragon god ancient seal, the dragon soul grinned. He knew that Qin Yu was digging a hole and preparing to scam someone. Upgrade the heavenly star spear to the profound grade? Sure enough, Wu Xing glanced at him disdainfully and sneered. What if you can't do it? If I can't do it, I will leave your 1000-weapon pavilion on my knees. Qin Yu pointed at the door and said, Junior Qin Yu, you. Yun Shi's expression changed slightly. Just as she was about to speak, Qin Yu reached out and stopped her. Are you serious? Wu Xing looked at the boastful Qin Yu with a sinister look in his eyes. Of course, Qin Yu's expression was normal. I'll tell you in advance, don't think that you can go back on your words if you can't do it because you know Miss Yun Shi and are a student of the Imperial Academy. Our 1,000-weapon pavilion has an agreement with the royal family. Even if the Imperial Academy appears, they can't protect you. Wu Xing stared at Qin Yu with a sinister smile. Since I said it in public, I naturally won't go back on my words. But you, are you sure you can take out the primal chaos stone? Qin Yu smiled and said, if you can't take it out, then we'd better not talk nonsense. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Wu Xing's eyelids trembled and he sneered. Deacon Duan, go and get the primal chaos stone. Chapter 32. Young Master Wu, Master Tianqiong said that we can't touch the primal chaos supreme essence stone. Deacon Duan hesitated and whispered to Wu Xing, why? Do you think this kid can upgrade the star spear to the profound grade? Wu Xing said with a hollow laugh. Of course not. Deacon Duan shook his head. Even a profound rank weapon refiner would not be able to raise the grade of a completed spirit weapon. Even if Master Tianqiong did it, the success rate was so small that it was negligible. However, Deacon Duan understood and went to get the primal chaos supreme essence stone. Follow me. Wu Xing sneered and led Qin Yu to the equipment refining room. Junior brother Qin Yu, what exactly are you thinking? After leaving the room, Yun Shi couldn't help but ask Qin Yu in a low voice. You just have to wait and see. Qin Yu smiled faintly and didn't say anything. Seeing this, Yun Shi shook her head helplessly. It seemed that she had to plead with Wu Xing later. If Qin Yu really went out of the 1,000 weapons pavilion on his knees, he would become the joke of the entire Imperial City. He wouldn't even have the face to stay in the Imperial Academy. Soon, under Wu Xing's lead, they came to the equipment refining hall of the 1,000 weapons pavilion and opened the equipment refining room. Young Master Wu, Young Master Wu, Young Master Wu, are you refining today? Do you need us to help? The blacksmiths and apprentices of the equipment refining hall were curious when they saw Wu Xing open the equipment refining room. As Master Tianqiong's last disciple, Wu Xing's inscription formation technique was much better than theirs. If they could learn a thing or two, it would be self-evident that it would be beneficial to them. Today, I'm not the one who wants to refine a weapon. It's this master who wants to raise the grade of a spirit weapon. Wu Xing sneered. When the apprentices heard this, they all looked at Qin Yu and discussed with each other. At this time, Deacon Duan brought the Primal Chaos Supreme Essence Stone over. The Primal Chaos Supreme Essence Stone was only the size of a palm. It was covered with chaotic patterns and looked quite mysterious. The quality is quite good. Qin Yu smiled after seeing the Primal Chaos Supreme Essence Stone, and the Dragon Soul also smiled slyly. How is it? Can you refine it now? Or do you need us all to go out? Wu Xing crossed his arms and glanced at Qin Yu contemptuously. You don't have to go out. As Qin Yu spoke, he took the Primal Chaos Supreme Essence Stone and handed it to Yun Shi. Senior Sister Yun Shi, you're the owner of the Cosmic Spear. Can I trouble you to be a witness? Of course. Yun Shi was even more surprised. Qin Yu's action was clearly afraid that the 10,000 weapons pavilion would go back on their word, so he wanted to use her identity. Although Yun Shi didn't mind helping Qin Yu, the problem wasn't Qin Yu too confident? Could it be that Qin Yu really had the confidence to raise the grade of the Cosmic Spear to the profound rank? If that was the case, it would be too shocking. That shouldn't be possible. He's still so young. Seeing this, Wu Xing looked at Qin Yu's calm and confident face. For some reason, he felt an inexplicable uneasiness in his heart. Qin Yu didn't hesitate. He walked to the refining table and placed the Cosmic Spear flat. With a move of his right hand, a talisman brush appeared in his hand. A talisman brush was a necessary item to inscribe spirit runes, formation runes, and formation diagrams. With Qin Yu's current cultivation, he still needed to rely on a talisman brush to inscribe formation runes. Mortal grade talisman brush? However, Wu Xing and the others from the 10,000 Weapons Pavilion were stunned when they saw this. Using a mortal grade talisman brush to inscribe formation runes to raise the grade of the cosmic spear. Was this a joke? TSK, TSK, TSK. However, Qin Yu's expression was serious as his gaze focused. The battle dragon true qi in his body flowed out and fused into the talisman brush. The originally soft tip of the talisman brush immediately became as sharp as a sword. As Qin Yu's right hand moved, a series of profound formation runes appeared on the cosmic spear and gradually formed a profound formation. Qin Yu's movements were as smooth as flowing water, bringing with it an indescribable sense of beauty. In the refining room, Wu Xing, Yun Shi, and the others all subconsciously held their breaths. In their eyes, it was as if the current Qin Yu had fused with the entire world. He possessed a boundless might. Clang. 15 minutes later, Qin Yu stopped inscribing and the formation was completed. He flicked his finger and a stream of true qi entered the cosmic spear. Immediately, the cosmic spear trembled and a sharp aura was released. Profound grade spirit artifact. Feeling the tyrannical aura of the spirit artifact, Wu Xing's face was filled with disbelief as he muttered, "Impossible, how is this possible?" Those junior apprentice brothers of the Weapon Refinery Academy were all dumbstruck and speechless. Yun Shi's eyes lit up as he rushed to the refining table and stared at the cosmic spear. He saw that there was an additional profound formation on the cosmic spear. The formation was extremely complicated and had a wide range. It covered all the three laws from before, and the center of gravity of the formation runes was obviously at the tip of the spear. Profound grade 3. After feeling the tyrannical fluctuations emitted by the cosmic spear, Yun Shi's little face was filled with excitement and shock. Just by inscribing an additional formation, the cosmic spear actually rose from yellow grade 9 to profound grade 3. This kind of method was simply miraculous and inconceivable. Junior Qin Yu, how did you do it? After obtaining a profound grade 3 spirit artifact, Yun Shi was so excited that his cheeks were slightly red and he couldn't help but ask. Following Yun Shi's words, Wu Xing and those artifact craftsmen's apprentices suddenly came back to their senses. Their gazes all looked to Qin Yu. Their gazes contained an unprecedented thirst for knowledge. The spirit materials of the cosmic spear can originally be used to refine an earth-grade spirit artifact, so I only inscribed a profound grade formation and directly raised the grade of the cosmic spear. Qin Yu said indifferently, "A profound grade formation? In that case, he's a profound grade artificer. It can't be. How old is he? He's actually a profound grade formation master. No, he raised the grade of a spirit artifact that had already been refined. His artifact refining grade might not be just profound grade." When the apprentices heard this, they were all incomparably shocked. Even Wu Xing, who was hailed as a talented artifact refining genius, the highest spirit artifact he had refined so far was only yellow grade 5, and this was the only one so far. In front of Qin Yu, Wu Xing, who was originally shining with boundless radiance, had become completely dim. This formation is called chaotic spirit. It has no offensive power, but when attacking, it can disrupt a martial artist's true qi and true essence. Qin Yu picked up the cosmic spear and handed it to Yun Shi. It can disrupt true qi and true essence. Yun Shi was greatly shocked. The power of this formation was too terrifying. In battle, if a martial artist's true qi was disrupted, the consequences would be very fatal. According to the bet, this primal chaos stone is mine. Qin Yu took the primal chaos stone from Yun Shi's hand and said to Wu Xing and Deacon Duan with a faint smile on his face, "Wait, you can't take this primal chaos stone away." Deacon Duan reacted with a jolt and hurriedly rushed over. "What do you mean?" Qin Yu glanced at him. Deacon Duan's body stiffened as if he was being stared at by a ferocious beast, cold sweat dripping down his body. "Young Master Wu Xing, Deacon Duan, this bet was agreed upon previously." "Why? The dignified 1,000 Artifact Pavilion won't go back on their word, right?" Yun Shi turned around and looked at Wu Xing and Deacon Duan, who were frozen in place. Chapter 33. Wu Xing opened his mouth, but he didn't know what to say. The current him was no longer as arrogant as before. In front of Qin Yu, who could forcibly raise the grade of spiritual tools, he didn't have the slightest temper. Miss Yunxi, it's not that our myriad weapon pavilion wants to go back on our word, but this primal chaos stone is something that Master Tianqiong needs. If it's taken away, Deacon Duan's face turned bitter. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have allowed Wu Xing to act recklessly. Now, if he didn't leave the primal chaos stone, he wouldn't be able to explain it to Master Tianqiong. If they took the primal chaos stone, their myriad weapon pavilion's reputation and credibility would be greatly reduced in the imperial city. Nonsense. When I came last month, this primal chaos stone was clearly for sale. Yunxi said in disbelief. This is absolutely true. The reason why Master Tianqiong came back early is because of the primal chaos stone. It's said that Master Tianqiong is preparing to use the primal chaos stone to refine a high-grade earth-grade spiritual tool. He even specially asked for hundreds of precious spiritual materials from the imperial city. Deacon Duan quickly said. Hearing this, Yunxi frowned slightly and looked at Qin Yu. If this primal chaos stone was really something that Master Tianqiong wanted, then Qin Yu wouldn't be able to take it away. Offending Master Tianqiong for an or was definitely not a wise move. Where are they? Why aren't they refining tools? Where are they? Just as Qin Yu was about to speak, an old and dignified voice sounded. It's Master Tianqiong. What's going on today? Master Tianqiong actually came personally. Those apprentice blacksmiths woke up and left the refining room. In the next moment, a tall figure entered the refining room. It was a grey-haired old man with a dignified face and a dignified face. This old man was the true martial dynasty's king of tools, Master Tianqiong. Master. Wu Xing and Deacon Duan, who were a little pale, quickly went up to greet him respectfully. Master Tianqiong. Yunxi also went up and bowed. It's you, little girl. How is it? The Sky Star Spear. Not bad, right? Master Tianqiong smiled when he saw Yunxi. Yunxi smiled and nodded, not knowing how to answer. However, Master Tianqiong did not notice Yunxi's strange expression. He turned to look at Deacon Duan and said, I went to the treasury earlier, and they said you took out the Grand Chaos Essence Stone? Yes, yes. Deacon Duan's face turned pale. Primal Chaos High Essence Stone is an extremely rare artifact refinement spirit material. What are you blindly taking it out for? Where's the Primal Chaos Supreme Essence Stone? Master Tianqiong scolded unhappily. This is in the hands of that young master. Deacon Duan pointed at Qin Yu. You sold it. Master Tianqiong's face darkened, and the air in the crafting room froze. No, young Master Wu lost the bet. Deacon Duan was so scared that his body trembled violently, and his face turned pale. Lost the bet. Master Tianqiong glanced at Qin Yu, whose expression was as usual, and then turned to look at Wu Xing, whose head had been lowered all this time. His expression suddenly calmed down. Tell me, what happened? However, when Wu Xing and Deacon Duan heard Tianqiong's calm tone, their hearts turned cold. They knew that Master Tianqiong was really angry. Immediately, Wu Xing didn't dare to hesitate at all. He immediately told Master Tianqiong what had happened. The Star Spear's grade has been upgraded to the 3rd level of the Profound grade. How is that possible? Master Tianqiong, who was originally intimidating, was stunned. He had refined the Star Spear himself, so he clearly knew the grade of the Star Spear. As soon as he said that, Master Tianqiong realized that the Star Spear was in front of him. Girl, let me see the spear. He directly took the Star Spear from Yunxi's hand. It's really the 3rd level of the Profound grade, and the newly inscribed formation completely avoided my 3 formations and didn't cause the slightest damage. Hiss, did he completely see through my inscribing method? After taking a closer look, Master Tianqiong took a deep breath. He was known as the King of Weapons in the Zhenwu dynasty, and his attainments in crafting were naturally far superior to others. He knew how many profound methods were needed to inscribe this formation pattern. Did you really inscribe this formation? Master Tianqiong raised his head and looked up and down at Qin Yu. The shock in his eyes was hard to hide. A 16-year-old boy actually had such a method of inscribing. This was too amazing. Of course. Qin Yu nodded slightly. How did you do it? Master Tianqiong couldn't help but ask. First, I used my genuine chi to sense the spiritual lines of the three formations. When I inscribed the new formation pattern, I just had to avoid it. Qin Yu said lightly, but Master Tianqiong's face became more and more shocked. One had to know that the most important reason why a spirit artifact could allow true energy to cover the entire spirit artifact was because of the inscriptions that covered the entire spirit artifact. If not enough space was left in advance, it was impossible to inscribe a new formation pattern. But now, someone had inscribed a new formation in the middle of the three formations he had inscribed, and it was a profound level formation. Even he, who had personally refined the star spear, couldn't do this. Young friend, may I know who your master is? Master Tianqiong's attitude became quite amiable. For Qin Yu to have such astonishing attainments in artifact craftsmanship at such a young age, it was easy to imagine how powerful the person who taught him was. Hearing Master Tianqiong's words, Yun Shi, Wu Xing, and Deacon Duan were all shocked. Master, there was actually a Grandmaster artifact craftsman behind Qin Yu? Sorry, I can't tell you this. Qin Yu smiled faintly. However, his calm appearance further confirmed Master Tianqiong's guess. He thought that there must be a master behind Qin Yu, or even a superforce. Senior, you're a master of refining. I think you should accept the fact that you lost, right? Seeing this, Qin Yu tossed the grand primal chaos crystal in his hand and chuckled. It's a matter of course to accept the fact that you lost, but the grand primal chaos crystal is related to the earth-level spiritual weapon I'm refining this time. Young friend, can you change your bet? Master Tianqiong said domineeringly, in the Thousand Weapons Pavilion, you can exchange for anything you like. Qin Yu shook his head slightly. I'm only here for the grand primal chaos crystal. Master Tianqiong frowned. Since he became a master of refining, no one had ever refused his conditions. If it weren't for Qin Yu's amazing inscription technique, he wouldn't talk nonsense with Qin Yu. I just heard from Deacon Duan that Senior has prepared hundreds of top spiritual materials for the earth-level spiritual weapon you're about to refine. Qin Yu looked at Master Tianqiong, who didn't look too good, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Yes. Tianqiong nodded. It seems that Senior has never used the Grand Primal Chaos Crystal to refine a spiritual weapon before, right? Hearing this, Qin Yu laughed. What do you mean? Master Tianqiong raised his eyebrows. Why did Qin Yu's tone sound like he was laughing at his ignorance? Senior, do you know how the Grand Primal Chaos Crystal is born? Qin Yu asked again. How it's born? Master Tianqiong was stunned. He only knew that the Grand Primal Chaos Crystal was a very precious spiritual material. In the history of the Sky Dragon continent, someone had used the Grand Primal Chaos Crystal to refine a supreme spiritual weapon with earth-shattering power. As for how the Grand Primal Chaos Crystal was born, he really didn't know. Chapter 34. The Primal Chaos Stone is born in a place of primal chaos. It contains both primal chaos chi and primal essence chi. Master Tiantian nodded. So, Tianqiong didn't quite understand, but he naturally knew the attributes of the primal chaos stone. Only when the primal chaos chi and primal essence chi are in a balance can the primal chaos stone be born. Therefore, once other spiritual materials are mixed in, the primal chaos stone will immediately explode. Qin Yu tossed the primal chaos stone in his hand. How is that possible? There's no record of this in the Xian weapon manual. Master Tianqiong was shocked. This was the first time he heard of it. If you don't believe me, you can ask around and see if other spiritual materials have been mixed in with the primal chaos stone. Qin Yu said. Master Tianqiong fell silent. He seemed to be pondering whether or not Qin Yu was trying to scare him. Since you need the primal chaos stone to forge a spiritual weapon, are you planning to use the primal chaos chi or primal essence chi to neutralize the energy of other materials? Seeing Master Tianqiong pondering, Qin Yu spoke again. Master Tianqiong didn't know that the primal chaos stone couldn't be mixed with other spiritual materials. Then the biggest possibility was that he was planning to use the primal chaos chi and primal essence chi. That's right. Master Tianqiong raised his eyebrows and nodded slowly. Obviously, Qin Yu was right. Senior, are you planning to neutralize spiritual materials of any attribute? I've been following my master since I was a child, and I'm quite knowledgeable about the art of merging spiritual materials. Qin Yu smiled faintly. Is that so? Then this old man would like to ask for some advice. Master Tianqiong's expression changed when he heard Qin Yu mention his master. He said, I've used hundreds of spiritual materials to forge an earth-grade spiritual weapon this time. But among them, the attributes of the heavenly frost stone, Li fire crystal, and dark nether iron have been conflicting with each other, and they couldn't be merged into the embryo. Little friend, do you have a solution? Master Tianqiong looked at Qin Yu with a hint of hope in his eyes. This problem had troubled him for a long time. He had left the Zhenwu dynasty some time ago to participate in a meeting of craftsmen in the Great Eastern Territory. He wanted to see if he could get any inspiration from other craftsmen. However, it was a pity that he came back empty-handed. Previously, when he learned that the primal chaos high essence stone had disappeared, he immediately rushed back. The heavenly frost stone contains the chi of cold ice, while the fire-leaving crystal contains the power of fire. These two are like fire and water, and the dark nether iron contains the power of dark nether. This is indeed troublesome. Qin Yu said with a pensive tone. When Grandmaster Tianqiong saw this, he was immediately disappointed. It seemed that Qin Yu was also helpless. Senior, if I can help you solve this problem, then what about the primal chaos supreme essence stone? However, after Qin Yu took a glance at Master Tianqiong's expression, he started to laugh. As long as you can solve this problem, this primal chaos supreme essence stone will naturally belong to you. Master Tianqiong's eyes lit up as he hastily replied. Give me a brush and ink. Qin Yu said. Wu Xing moved his right hand and immediately took out a brush, ink, and paper. As Master Tianqiong's disciple, these were necessary things. Qin Yu quickly wrote down the method of neutralization and handed it to Master Tianqiong. 5-element cinnabar, mysterious yin water, light congealing stone. After reading it, Master Tianqiong's expression changed drastically. Sometimes he frowned and pondered, sometimes he was enlightened, and sometimes he was overjoyed. Senior, I'll take my leave first. If there's anything you don't understand, you can come to the Imperial Sacred Institute to find me. Qin Yu didn't stay any longer. He put away the primal chaos supreme essence stone and left. Yun Shi, Wu Xing, and Deacon Duan's eyes twitched when they heard this. Qin Yu actually asked Master Tianqiong to find him. His words weren't ordinary. Okay. After this refining is completed, I'll definitely pay you a visit. However, to their surprise, Master Tianqiong actually personally saw Qin Yu off after he came back to his senses. Looking at his attitude, it was as if he was treating Qin Yu as an equal. This made the people in the Thousand Weapons Pavilion who saw this scene so shocked that their eyeballs almost fell out. They wondered who that white-clothed youth was. How could he be treated so respectfully by the King of Weapons, Master Tianqiong? After leaving the Thousand Weapons Pavilion, Qin Yu bought hundreds of kinds of medicinal materials in the Imperial City and headed to the Sacred Institute. Along the way, Yun Shi followed Qin Yu with unconcealable curiosity in her bright eyes. Senior sister Yun Shi, if you look at me like this, will it give people an illusion? Qin Yu tilted his head and smiled at Yun Shi. Junior brother Qin Yu, who are you? Yun Shi pondered for a moment and couldn't help but ask. She came from one of the top forces in the Great Eastern Domain and had seen countless geniuses. However, it was the first time she had seen a monster like Qin Yu. A 16-year-old youth was actually instructing Master Tianqiong in refining. If this spread out, who knew how many people would be stunned? Qin Yu smiled and didn't say anything. However, in Yun Shi's eyes, this appearance was even more mysterious. Yun Shi didn't ask further. She just looked at Qin Yu curiously, as if she wanted to see through Qin Yu. After returning to the Sacred Institute, Qin Yu immediately returned to his residence and closed the door. He couldn't stand Yun Shi's gaze. After entering the secret cultivation room, Qin Yu prepared and began to inscribe on the Primal Chaos Supreme Essence Stone. 5 days later, the Primal Chaos Supreme Essence Stone turned into a 9-palace array disc covered with countless mysterious spiritual patterns. A first-grade spiritual array disc. The grade is a bit low and can't accommodate the entire heaven punishment array. In the ancient seal of the dragon god, The dragon soul looked at the spiritual array disc and said, "I can't help it. I'm only in the earth martial arts realm now." The grade of the spiritual array disc depended not only on the array pattern, but also on the host's cultivation. In a sense, the spiritual array disc was Qin Yu's original Dharma artifact. It could increase its grade and power with Qin Yu's continuous nurturing. With a thought, Qin Yu's spiritual array disc entered the ancient seal of the dragon god and appeared in front of the celestial extermination painting. Withdraw. Qin Yu once again released the killing intent of the heaven punishment array, and the soaring killing intent raged. As Qin Yu formed a seal with both hands, the killing intent of the heaven punishment array merged into the spiritual array disc. However, when it reached the 10th killing intent, the spiritual array disc trembled slightly and reached its limit. 10 killing intents of the heaven punishment array. Qin Yu summoned the killing intent of the heaven punishment array and a smile appeared on his face. Although it couldn't accommodate the entire heaven punishment array, with these 10 killing intents of the heaven punishment array, he had enough power to protect himself in the Zhenwu dynasty. After the spiritual array disc successfully accommodated the killing intent of the heaven punishment array, Qin Yu began to refine spiritual pills. Soon, grade 3 spiritual pills flew out of the cauldron one after another. In the following time, Qin Yu cultivated the ancient battle dragon art while taking spiritual pills to cultivate. When a month had passed, Qin Yu's cultivation had increased by 3 levels. A cultivation of the 3rd level of the Earth martial arts realm could only be considered at the bottom of the Imperial Sacred Academy. Even among the new students, this cultivation was not considered eye-catching. However, if someone judged Qin Yu's strength based on his cultivation, they probably wouldn't even know how they died. Chapter 35. On this day, when the sun had just risen, a long bell rang throughout the Imperial Sacred Academy. The freshman assembly of the Imperial Sacred Academy was finally here. Figures walked out of the 4 academies of the Imperial Sacred Academy. At this moment, the square where the freshman assembly was held was filled with countless martial artists from different forces. Even the royal family would send people to watch the freshman assembly of the Imperial Sacred Academy. No way. I'm the only one from the Northern Academy this year. Qin Yu, who was in seclusion, was called out by Jiang Long, Yun Shi, and other disciples of the Northern Academy. To be honest, Qin Yu had no interest in participating in this freshman assembly. With his current strength, even students in the Sky martial arts realm were no match for him, let alone those freshmen who had just entered the Sacred Academy. Mph, those short-sighted guys, it's useless even if there are more of them. Jiang Long snorted and put his arm around Qin Yu's shoulder, saying, "Qin Yu, you must make the Northern Academy proud in this freshman assembly." After saying that, he pulled Qin Yu, who was somewhat helpless, to the square of the Sacred Academy. When the lonely Qin Yu stood in the open space representing the Northern Academy, bursts of laughter sounded around the square. "Junior brother Dongfang, that guy is Qin Yu. Don't let him go so easily." However, those who laughed did not include the Eastern Academy. Last time in the cultivation formation conflict, a student in the Earth martial arts realm of the Eastern Academy was defeated by Qin Yu alone. This had been spread around the Sacred Academy for a long time, and the Eastern Academy had lost face. The one who spoke at this time was Lu Shanhe. In front of Lu Shanhe, there was a youth in white with a cold and arrogant face. 3rd grade Earth martial arts realm? I'm not interested. If you want to play house, go ahead. This youth in white was the 9th grade martial vein genius that the Eastern Academy had recruited this time, Dongfang Wentian. Dongfang Wentian's arrogant attitude made Lu Shanhe's eyes darken, but he did not say anything. In the Eastern Academy, Dongfang Wentian's status was far above his. He was a seedling that was focused on training. The strongest opponent this time should be Dongfang Wentian. Among the new disciples of the West Branch, a burly young man looked at Dongfang Wentian with battle intent in his eyes. This muscular young man was also a genius with a 9th grade martial vein, Wan Feng Lei. This freshman competition will be the starting stage for me to become famous in the Great Eastern Territory. Among the disciples of the Southern Domain, a young man with a cold expression and a white fan in his hand spoke confidently. The surrounding new disciples all subconsciously distanced themselves from him. That was because the cold aura emanating from that young man's body was too shocking. This icy young man was the 9th grade Marshall Vane genius of the Southern Campus, Chu Han. This year's freshman assembly officially begins. The competition is divided into 2 segments, the mixed battle and the top 4 battle. The rules are simple. We'll use an elimination system. Elders of the inner sanctum will be spectating the competition this time. Therefore, all of you must give it your all. When the bright red sun rose into the sky, a martial emperor elder appeared to preside over the freshman competition. After the simple announcement of the rules, the students of the 4 campuses went to draw their number plates. There were more than 100 new students participating this time. These 100 or so people would be divided into 4 regions. In the first round of the mixed battle, the students of each region would fight against each other. The person who won in the end would be qualified to advance to the top 4 battle. The top 4 battle would be the battle for the title of Newcomer King. The person who won in the end would be this year's Newcomer King. Almost all of the previous Newcomer Kings of the Battling Heavens Sacred Academy had become famous geniuses in the Empire. Soon, more than 100 new students were evenly divided into the 4 regions. No one knew if it was a coincidence or a deliberate arrangement. Today's 4 9th grade Marshall Vane geniuses were separated in this round. Let's begin. With the order of the Martial Emperor Elder, the 4 regions immediately erupted into a mixed battle. Get out of here, Shadowless Sword. In the first region, Dongfang Wentian held a sword and attacked brazenly. Streaks of Shadowless Sword light flashed in the void. The battle had just begun, but 7 or 8 new disciples in the first region were struck and eliminated. Although these new disciples were seriously injured, they did not lose their lives. This was because at the critical moment, the Martial Emperor Elder made a move and sent the new disciples flying. In the mixed battle of the 4 regions, there was not a single casualty. Lightning Wind Palm. In the second region, Wan Fenglei was also domineering. The lightning wind true chi on his body vibrated as he struck out with his lightning wind palm. Wherever the lightning wind palm passed, the new disciples would be eliminated. Clang, clang. In the third region, Chu Han's white fan was flickering with ice spiritual runes. As he waved his white fan, a solid ice blade swept out in all directions. The number of ice blades was so great that the new disciples could not withstand them and were eliminated one after another. Bang, bang, bang. In the fourth region, Qin Yu, who was originally lazy, stepped out and charged into the new disciples when he saw them attacking him. Wherever Qin Yu went, the new disciples would be sent flying. It was like a giant beast had crashed into them, causing them to lose the ability to fight. Even though Qin Yu did not use his full strength, his physical strength of 100,000 plus the enhancement of the battle dragon energy is simply not something these new students can withstand. As expected of a genius with a 9th grade Martial Vane, the ordinary new disciples are not on the same level as them. Around the square, the eyes of the spectators fell on Dongfang Wentian, Wan Fenglei, Chu Han, and Qin Yu. From the looks of it, it was clear that this year's best newcomer king would be one of them. Whoosh! In the first region, an invisible sword light flashed and the last new disciple was sent flying. Dongfang Wentian advance. Piece of cake. In the second region, Wan Fenglei's lightning wind true chi dissipated. There were no more new disciples around him. A bunch of ants. In the third region, Chu Han closed his white fan and the surrounding wind blades turned into cold air and dissipated. Bang! In the fourth region, Qin Yu threw out a punch. A substantial fist force exploded, and the 5 new disciples who had joined forces to attack were sent flying back while vomiting blood, as if they had been hit by an ancient beast. At this point, the winners of the 4 regions had all stood out. The semi-finals will now begin. The rules are simple. Those who lose will be eliminated. After resting for half an hour, the semi-finals began. Qin Yu and the other 3 would fight in pairs. The 2 who won in the end would fight for the title of the new king. After the lots were drawn, the first battle of the semi-finals was between Wan Fenglei and Chu Han. The second battle was between Dongfang Wentian and Qin Yu. "You're not my opponent," Chu Han said coldly as he looked at Wan Fenglei on the battle stage. "Ha, that's what I should say. Wen Fenglei said with a smile. You're overestimating yourself. Chu Han sneered as a powerful icy aura swept out from his body. That's true Yuan? No, it hasn't completely condensed into true Yuan. Half step to the sky martial realm, the spectators were shocked. A new disciple who had just entered the academy had already reached the half step to the sky martial realm. Chu Han's talent was extraordinary. Chapter 36. Half step to true origin. Wan Fenglei's face froze. He didn't expect Chu Han's strength to reach such a level. Even Dongfang Wantian's eyes were filled with shock. There was a divide between the earth martial realm and the sky martial realm. When true Qi turned into true origin, there would be a qualitative increase in power. Although Chu Han was only half step to true origin, it was enough for him to look down on the earth martial realm. Only Qin Yu was still standing there lazily, as if he didn't see Chu Han's half step to sky martial realm cultivation. Boom! At that moment, Chu Han stomped on the ground and charged towards Wan Fenglei with a gust of cold wind. So what if you're half step to sky martial realm? As long as you're not in the sky martial realm, there's nothing to be afraid of. Seeing Chu Han charging towards him, Wan Fenglei's aura exploded and his wind lightning true Qi swept out. Wind lightning palm. As his wind lightning true Qi vibrated, Wan Fenglei's hands continuously clapped. Streams of wind lightning energy condensed and continuously attacked Chu Han. Child's play. Disdain appeared on Chu Han's face and he waved the white fan in his hand. The inscriptions on the fan flickered and an ice-cold wind blade shot out like 10,000 arrows and instantly collided with the wind lightning palm. After a series of explosions, all of the wind lightning palm was shattered. The power of half step to true origin and true Qi was revealed. Wind lightning escape. Wan Fenglei naturally wouldn't fight Chu Han head-on. In that instant, Wan Fenglei used an extremely fast wind lightning movement technique and in a few steps, he leapt to Chu Han's left side. Wind lightning destruction palm. Wan Fenglei took the opportunity and immediately attacked with all his strength. He clapped his hands and dozens of streams of wind lightning energy condensed and formed a wind lightning palm. With the power of wind lightning, it shot towards Chu Han. Looking at the violent fluctuations of the wind lightning palm, even if a true sky martial realm cultivator was hit, he would definitely be severely injured. Ice blade. Chu Han sneered and took a step back with his left foot. He didn't dodge and faced the wind lightning palm head-on. Immediately after, Chu Han's right hand moved and the white fan in his hand slashed horizontally. An ice blade emitting a frightening cold aura was formed and slashed out at an astonishing speed. With a piercing sound, the wind thunder palm was directly cut apart. Wan Fenglei, who was extremely close, was unable to dodge in time and was sent flying by the ice blade. If it weren't for the protective spiritual armor on his body, he would have been cut in half. Whoosh! Chu Han's figure flashed. Before Wan Fenglei could land on the ground, he quickly chased after him. The white fan in his hand, which was overflowing with cold air, was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. Puff! A tearing sound appeared in the air as Chu Han's attack missed. It was the Inner Institute elder who had saved Wan Fenglei. Chu Han wins the first round of the semifinals. When the Inner Court elder saved Wan Fenglei, it meant that Chu Han had won. So strong, this is a complete suppression. Half-step Zhen Yuan is indeed far superior to Zhen Qi. Apart from that, Chu Han's control over half a step into true energy is also extremely proficient. I'm afraid that he will be able to truly step into the heaven realm soon. A 16-year-old in the sky martial realm? He's a peerless monster. The spectators of the freshman competition were all incomparably shocked. Chu Han's strength had shocked them. Looking at Chu Han, who had calmly stepped down from the stage, the shock in Dongfang Wantian's eyes was replaced by a trace of graveness. Chu Han's strength made him feel extremely pressured. That Chu Han's strength is already enough to completely crush an earth martial realm. Jiang Long, Yun Shi, and the others, who were originally confident in Qin Yu's strength, were somewhat shaken. Although Qin Yu had the prison-suppressing divine spear in his hand, Chu Han had defeated Wan Fenglei in just 2 moves. Obviously, Chu Han had not used his full strength. Qin Yu wanted to win the title of newcomer king and win glory for the Northern Institute, but there wasn't much hope. The second round, Dongfang Wentian of the Eastern Institute versus Qin Yu of the Northern Institute. Under the Inner Institute elder's voice, Dongfang Wentian and Qin Yu both leaped onto the stage. Clang! Dongfang Wentian unsheathed his sword. Vaguely, there was a sharp sword aura emitting from it. Qin Yu, on the other hand, stood there indifferently. There was nothing in his hand. You're not going to use a spiritual artifact? Dongfang Wentian frowned. He had no interest in fighting Qin Yu, who was only in the third-grade earth martial realm. However, Qin Yu's arrogant manner of not even taking out a holy weapon made him somewhat displeased. He didn't believe that Qin Yu didn't have a spiritual artifact. As a 9th-grade martial vein cultivator and the only student of the Northern Institute, there was no way that the elders of the Northern Institute wouldn't prepare a spiritual artifact for Qin Yu. If I use a spiritual artifact, I'll be bullying you. Qin Yu smiled faintly. The true qi of the battle dragon surged in his dragon vein and the blood in his body started to boil. You're only in the 3rd-grade earth martial realm. Do you think that you're so arrogant after defeating a few seniors? The corner of Dongfang Wentian's eyes twitched. He gives a cold laugh. With a movement of his body, he leaps towards Qin Yu like an eagle. Swish, swish, swish. Before he landed, Dongfang Wentian slashed with his sword and executed the shadowless sword art. Streaks of blurry, shadowless sword light broke through the air like a gust of wind, without any order at all. With a few light steps, Qin Yu dodged all of the shadowless sword rays in an extremely skillful manner. Perhaps in the eyes of other students, Dongfang Wentian's shadowless sword art was extremely troublesome. But for Qin Yu, it was a piece of cake. If Jiang Long hadn't dragged him to the freshman competition, he wouldn't have wasted his time on it. How is this possible? Dongfang Wentian's face changed when he landed on the ground. Even someone in the sky martial realm wouldn't be able to see through the shadowless sword art so easily. How did Qin Yu do it? How dare you look down on me? When Dongfang Wentian saw Qin Yu calmly walking towards him with a calm expression, his face twitched and the anger on his face became even more intense. Qin Yu's arrogant appearance had completely infuriated him. 9 stars linked moon sword. This time, Dongfang Wentian rushed forward and waved the sword in his hand. Cold and sharp sword aura intertwined and turned into a sword aura bright moon. Around the sword aura bright moon, there were 9 shadowless sword aura, 1 bright and 1 dark, overflowing with killing intent. Break. However, Qin Yu merely threw out a punch. An incomparably tyrannical fist energy burst forth like a violent storm. The sword aura bright moon and the 9 shadowless sword aura were all scattered by the fist energy the moment they collided. Not good. Dongfang Wentian's face changed and he immediately blocked with his sword. But he couldn't defend against the violent fist energy and was sent flying out of the arena while vomiting blood. Qin Yu won with 1 punch. No way. A 3rd-grade Earth Martial Realm warrior sent a warrior at the peak of the Earth Martial Realm flying with 1 punch. Although his genuine chi fluctuation is only at the 3rd-grade Earth Martial Realm, the power of his punch doesn't seem like something a 3rd-grade Earth Martial Realm warrior can throw out. What's going on? This young man is amazing. If he reaches the peak of the Earth Martial Realm, I'm afraid he can challenge a real Sky Martial Realm warrior. The battle between Qin Yu and Dongfang Wentian shocked the spectators of the Sacred Institute once again. It wasn't that they hadn't seen people of a higher level than themselves, but someone like Qin Yu, even in the Imperial Academy, had never appeared before. Damn it! Looking at the glorious Qin Yu, Lu Shanha's eyes were even colder. Originally, he wanted Dongfang Wentian to teach Qin Yu a lesson and clear the name of the East Courtyard. Who would have thought that Dongfang Wentian would become Qin Yu's stepping stone? This made him even more unhappy with Qin Yu. Qin Yu, I'll kill you. Among the students of the East Courtyard, there was a gloomy and murderous gaze staring at Qin Yu. This person was naturally Zhu Tianlang, who was seriously injured by Qin Yu and couldn't participate in the freshman competition. Since he was almost killed by Qin Yu with 1 punch, Zhu Tianlang's murderous intent towards Qin Yu had reached a point where he couldn't suppress it. As long as he had the chance, he would definitely tear Qin Yu into pieces to relieve the hatred in his heart. Chapter 37. You were actually defeated by a mere third-grade Earth martial realm with a single punch. Looks like my expectations for you were too high. Looking at the defeated Dongfang Wentian, the contempt on Chu Han's face deepened. Dongfang Wentian was the most famous among the freshmen this year. But who would have thought that he would be defeated by Qin Yu, who wasn't famous at all, with a single punch? Looks like he didn't live up to his reputation. Qin Yu is too ferocious. Looking at the victorious Qin Yu, Jiang Long and the others from the Northern Institute were excited. It looked like the Northern Institute, which had always been at the bottom of the 4 institutes, could rely on Qin Yu to make a comeback. It's your turn now. Come up. On the battle stage, Qin Yu didn't get down from the stage. Instead, he lazily said to Chu Han. After dealing with this guy, he would go back to cultivating. He came to the Imperial Sacred Institute for the myriad poison inky snake. Now, he had to quickly increase his strength and become an inner institute student. Then, he could enter the secret realm. Heh, you really think you're something? A cold light flashed in Chu Han's eyes. He took a step forward and jumped onto the battle stage with a gust of cold wind. So you're not just at the half-step true essence stage. No wonder you're so confident. After looking at Chu Han carefully, Qin Yu seemed to have discovered something and chuckled. Swish, swish, swish. After the inner institute elder gave the order, Chu Han immediately rushed out. He waved the white fan in his hand and countless ice blades attacked like a storm. Qin Yu's figure slightly swayed and dodged all the ice blades. He took large strides towards Chu Han. You're quite capable. Seeing this, Chu Han's eyes became even colder. The shocking cold air faintly affected this part of the world. Swish. The white fan in Chu Han's hand was like a saber. He slashed horizontally and vertically in the air. 2 large ice blades formed a cross and slashed out with lightning speed. Break. Qin Yu didn't stop and threw out a punch. The fist force exploded and the cross ice blades couldn't resist the power of the fist force. It's actually so powerful. Chu Han's face was filled with shock. Only when he felt the power of Qin Yu's fist at such a close distance did he realize just how terrifying the power of Qin Yu's fist was. As soon as the cross-shaped frost blade was broken, Qin Yu took a flying step forward and directly appeared in front of Chu Han. Then, he threw out another punch. Ice shield. Chu Han immediately waved his white fan, and a thick ice shield formed in front of him from the half-step quintessential essence seat. Bang! However, the ice shield was directly shattered. Ice shards flew everywhere, and a terrifying fist energy slammed into Chu Han's body. Poochie. Chu Han's body shook violently as he spat out a mouthful of blood. However, just as he was about to fall onto the battle stage, he waved the white fan in his right hand with all his might. A gust of icy wind burst out, and with the help of the recoil, he flipped over and landed on the battle stage. Even Chu Han, who was half a step into the heaven realm, vomited blood from a single punch. What kind of genius did the northern campus find this time? That's blood energy, right? Indeed. Qin Yu's punch contained a shocking amount of blood energy. I estimate it to be at least a few £1,000. Qin Yu's continuous punches had caused the surrounding spectators to be endlessly shocked. At the same time, they were also able to tell that Qin Yu possessed an extremely astonishing physical strength. A 16-year-old youth with a physical strength of a few £1,000 was comparable to a savage beast. It was likely that Chu Han would also be defeated by Qin Yu in this battle. I didn't think that the rumor was true. It was you who took the hell-suppressing divine spear, right? Chu Han wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and the coldness in his eyes became denser. That's right. Qin Yu nodded. I was caught off guard by you. Now, I won't give you another chance. Chu Han took a deep breath, and his aura became even stronger. A shocking amount of cold air quickly spread out. Could it be that Chu Han was still hiding his strength? The spectators, who originally thought that the outcome of the battle was already decided, started discussing again. You're finally going to use your dual martial veins? Qin Yu chuckled when he heard this. How did you know? Chu Han was shocked. This was his secret, and not many people in the Imperial Sacred Institute knew about it. Of course I can tell. Qin Yu's eyes were sharp. He could tell that Chu Han had dual martial veins with just a glance. Since you know, then take out the hell-suppressing divine spear. Once I use my dual martial veins, you won't be able to take a single blow from me if you don't use your full strength. Before he finished speaking, a shocking amount of cold air rushed out from Chu Han, freezing the air wherever it passed. Dual martial veins. This is dual martial veins. Chu Han actually has dual martial veins. No wonder he reached the half-step to the sky martial realm at such a young age. After a short moment of silence, the spectators began to discuss fervently. At this moment, Chu Han's icy aura was several times stronger than before. He actually has dual martial veins. Yun Shi was stunned. Not only does he have dual martial veins, but he also has dual martial veins of the same attribute. Jiang Long squinted his eyes. Dual martial veins not only increased one's cultivation speed, but also allowed one to awaken another attribute of true qi. If the attributes were of the same attribute, then the power of dual martial veins wouldn't be stacked. Even the inner court elder looked at Chu Han with a smile on his face. Even in the Imperial Sacred Academy, dual martial veins geniuses were rare. Furthermore, Chu Han was a 9th grade martial vein cultivator. His talent was even rarer. Are you not going to take out the hell-suppressing divine spear? Or are you not going to take out the hell-suppressing divine spear? The coldness in Chu Han's eyes deepened when he saw that Qin Yu was still empty-handed even though he had dual martial veins. I already said that I would be bullying you guys if I used a spiritual weapon. Qin Yu lightly smiled. His relaxed appearance did not show the slightest bit of pressure. Don't regret it when you lose. Chu Han roared. His figure flashed and he rushed out with a gust of cold wind. Whoosh, whoosh. The instant he charged out, Chu Han raised the white fan in his right hand. As the spirit inscriptions on the surface of the fan glowed, the surrounding cold air quickly gathered towards the white fan and turned into a bone-chilling cold hurricane. Then, it violently swept towards Qin Yu. Ka. Wherever the ice hurricane passed, a thick layer of ice would appear on the battle arena. Its power could be seen from this destructive fist. The corners of Qin Yu's mouth curled up into a smile, and he did not retreat at all. He clenched his right hand into a fist and took a step forward with his left foot, lowering his body slightly. Inside the 2 dragon veins in his dantian, the battle dragon True Qi was roaring like a giant dragon. Inside his flesh and bones, tens of millions of qi and blood energy gathered in his right hand like rivers flowing into the sea. Destroy. Immediately after, Qin Yu's right fist suddenly shot out through the air. At this moment, an earth-shattering sound rang in everyone's ears like a clap of thunder. Everyone could only feel their ears buzzing, and they couldn't hear anything else. In their eyes, Qin Yu's right fist contained a vast and majestic fist energy. It was like a demonic dragon had been born, and it instantly shattered the powerful ice hurricane. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it pounced towards Chu Han. Looking at the destructive aura, if one was hit by the attack, they would definitely die. Boom. In the eyes of Chu Han, whose face was filled with shock and was suppressed by the terrifying fist energy, the destructive fist energy suddenly exploded. At this moment, the battle arena directly collapsed. Smoke and dust rose in all directions, and the arena turned into ruins. Chapter 38. When the dust settled, the onlookers were all dumbfounded. In the middle of the arena, there was a huge pit that was at least 30 meters wide. In the deep pit, he could still clearly sense a destructive fist force raging about. Plop. Suddenly, Chu Han, who was pale and covered in cold sweat, collapsed to the ground. In front of him, the inner court elder stretched out one hand, and a solid wall of true essence quietly disappeared. If it weren't for the inner court elder's help, Qin Chu wouldn't even have bones left. Top heaven-level martial arts technique. This kid is a peerless genius. In the future, he will definitely be able to walk out of the imperial court and become famous in hundreds of countries. The inner court elder couldn't hide the astonishment in his eyes. Third-stage Earth martial arts realm cultivators could completely master a top heaven-level martial arts technique. Qin Yu's martial arts talent is so strong that even he is extremely shocked. In addition to cultivation talent, martial arts talent was also very important to a warrior's talent. The former determined the level of cultivation, while the latter determined the strength of battle. Looking at Qin Yu's appearance, it was obvious that he had both. This naturally surprised the inner court elder. He's really only in the third stage earth martial arts realm. This power is no weaker than the sky martial arts realm. God, what kind of monster is this? The sound of Chu Han sitting on the ground caused the stunned onlookers to recover their wits. A clamor that soared to the sky continuously resounded. A super genius with dual martial veins had been completely crushed. This year's freshman competition was no less exciting than the previous 4 academy competitions. Qin Yu didn't pay attention to the heated discussion around him. He withdrew his fist and left the square under the admiring, envious, and jealous gazes. Qin Yu didn't feel the slightest bit of emotion about winning the title of freshman competition. Of course, Qin Yu didn't feel anything, but Jiang Long and the others from the Northern Court were excited. The Northern Court had a freshman king this year, so the cultivation resources of the Saint Court would definitely be more focused on him. In less than half a day, the news of the battle of the freshman king of the Imperial Court spread throughout the Imperial Court. Because of this, Qin Yu's name became famous in the Imperial dynasty, and countless factions were investigating Qin Yu's background. With such amazing talent, he would definitely become a famous expert in the 100 nations in the future. Royal Sacred Academy, Outer Court, East Court. I can't wait any longer. I have to get rid of Qin Yu as soon as possible. Zhu Tianlang walked all the way back to his room in trepidation. His eyes flashed with fear, horror, resentment, and murderous intent. After witnessing Qin Yu's battle today, Zhu Tianlang's desire to kill Qin Yu grew stronger, and he could not get rid of it. Qin Yu's talent was too terrifying, so terrifying that it made him unable to eat or sleep in peace. The Shui clan, one of the super families in the Imperial City, Qin Yu. Could this person be the Dragon Spirit City's Qin Yu that the Emperor mentioned before? In the Shui clan, a middle-aged man looked at the report in his hand and raised his eyebrows. Yes, young Master Tianwu ordered us to report immediately when he arrived at the Imperial Court, but young Master Tianwu is in seclusion trying to break through to the martial king realm. A muscular man knelt on one knee and respectfully replied. Third-grade earth martial realm, but his battle strength is comparable to a sky martial realm cultivator. He can even pick up the hell-suppressing divine spear of the Northern Court. He also has a 9th-grade dual martial vein that is close to a spirit vein. This person can't be left alive. After the middle-aged man read the report on Qin Yu, his eyes flashed with murderous intent. A 16-year-old third-grade earth martial realm cultivator was not very outstanding in the Imperial City. But in his hand was Qin Yu's detailed report. He knew that Qin Yu's martial vein had been stolen and his cultivation scattered. After sleeping for 2 years, he had awakened with a second martial vein. In just a few months, he had risen to the top and reached the third-grade earth martial realm. Wasn't such talent a little too terrifying? If it wasn't for the matter of Shui Yutong of the Dragon Spirit City branch, the Shui family would definitely try to rope in such a genius. But since Shui Tianwu had already formed a grudge with Qin Yu, the Shui family naturally could not let Qin Yu grow. In the Imperial Court, Qin Yu did not know what was going on in the outside world. Even if he knew, he would not care. After the freshman competition ended, Qin Yu returned to his loft and cultivated in seclusion. The reward for the newcomer king was delivered the next day. A heaven-rank cultivation technique and martial skill, as well as many high-quality spirit pills. Qin Yu did not care about these rewards. After cultivating in seclusion for nearly a month, with the help of the 2 dragon veins and the spirit pills, Qin Yu's cultivation broke through continuously and reached the 5th level of the earth martial realm. With the increase of the battle dragon true qi, Qin Yu took the opportunity to condense a 3rd dragon vein. Now, his cultivation speed had already increased by more than 3 times. On this day, when Qin Yu was cultivating, Jiang Long of the Northern Court came to his door. Academy mission? After hearing Jiang Long's words, Qin Yu frowned slightly. He did not even have enough time to cultivate now. How could he have time to go out and carry out missions? This is the rule of the sacred court. The flowers in the greenhouse cannot withstand the wind and rain. So, whether it is the outer court or the inner court, every once in a while, must leave the sacred court to carry out missions. This way, they can hone their combat strength. Jiang Long said. Okay. Qin Yu wanted to refuse directly, but after thinking about it, he agreed. Instead of staying in the imperial court and being disturbed from time to time, it was better to just leave and cultivate in the outside world. Anyway, he did not need to rely on the cultivation resources of the imperial court. This is the mission of the Northern Court. Jiang Long handed the mission to Qin Yu. Exterminate bandits. The mission of the Northern Court was to exterminate a group of bandits at the border of the Zhenwu dynasty. That group of bandits had been roaming around the border, robbing and killing ordinary people. According to the intelligence, the highest cultivation of that group of bandits was only in the earth martial arts realm. So, the outer court students in the earth martial arts realm were enough to deal with them. After reading the mission, Qin Yu prepared a little and left the imperial court with the other students of the northern court. After Qin Yu left the sacred court, 2 pieces of news quickly spread out of the imperial court. Ha ha ha, this news came at the right time. Zhu Tianlang, who was carrying out a mission outside, looked at the intelligence in his hand with a ruthless look in his eyes. This person can't be allowed to go back to the imperial court alive. The middle-aged man of the Shui clan gave a gloomy order after receiving the news. Now the imperial court did not focus on protecting Qin Yu. This was a great opportunity. If Qin Yu managed to escape this time, the Imperial Sacred Academy would definitely be alerted. It would not be so easy to do it again in the future. Da. 7 days later, on the spacious official road, a group of Earth martial arts realm warriors was galloping fast. This group of people was Qin Yu and other students of the Northern Court who came to exterminate bandits. According to the intelligence of the Imperial Court, the bandits are in front of us. Everyone, cheer up. The leading young man of LV9 of the Earth martial arts realm looked at the map in his hand and said in a deep voice. Hearing this, the students of the Northern Court were all shaken. There's a smell of blood. At this time, Qin Yu's nose twitched slightly as he smelled the strong smell of blood coming from the front. After passing through the official road, they came to the place where the smell of blood was coming from. It was a small town. The situation of the small town was extremely miserable. The houses had collapsed, and in the ruins, corpses were lying in pools of blood. There were old people and children, but no one was alive. Obviously, there had been a massacre. Chapter 39. Damn those bastards. They didn't even spare the elderly and the children. After walking around the small town, the students of the Northern College were seething with anger and killing intent. We didn't find the woman's body. She must have been taken away. The young man in the lead walked around the town and met up with the students of the Northern campus. Judging from the blood and the corpses, it seemed to have happened 2 hours ago. We just need to find the right direction. If we chase after them now, we should be able to find them. But the problem is that there are horse hoof prints all around the town. Which direction should we go? The students of the Northern campus talked to each other. The horse hoof prints must have been left by the bandits to prevent them from being tracked. They're heading east. Qin Yu, who had been silent all this time, looked east. East. Junior Qin Yu, are you sure? The students of the Northern campus looked at Qin Yu. Although Qin Yu was not the leader of their group, his strength was definitely the strongest among them. I'm sure. Qin Yu immediately gets on his horse and chases east. Seeing this, those Northern Courtyard students follow him one after another. After chasing for dozens of miles, they followed the horse hoof prints and came to a mountain range. In the ancient forest at the edge of the mountain range, there was a simple tent. Waves of wild laughter and the shrill voice of a woman could be heard. Those bastards. Hearing those voices, the students of the Northern campus naturally knew what the bandits were doing. Without wasting any time, they unsheathed their spiritual weapons, jumped off their horses, and rushed over. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Qin Yu did not move, but he flicked his right hand and shot out 3 darts. The bandit who was hiding in the dark and aiming at the students of the Northern campus with a crossbow was killed instantly. Who's there? Come out, there's an enemy attack. The murderous aura of the students of the Northern campus attracted the attention of the bandits. Figures rushed out of the tent. Although their clothes were disheveled, they seemed to be well trained. Seeing this, Qin Yu raised his eyebrows slightly. Those bandits didn't look like bandits. Instead, they looked more like soldiers in the army. Could they be from the 100 Battles dynasty? This mountain range was the border between the Zhenwu dynasty and the Baizhan dynasty. It was indeed possible for the warriors of the 100 Battles dynasty to disguise themselves as bandits and cross over to kill and loot. Clang! Clang! The battle between the two sides was about to break out. Although the northern campus students outnumbered the bandits, they had the upper hand in the battle and firmly suppressed the bandits. Oh no, they are the geniuses of the Zhenwu dynasty's Imperial Academy. Run! Facing all of the Earth martial arts realm, the bandits quickly couldn't hold on and turned to flee. Peng peng peng! However, at this moment, a series of shockingly powerful fist radiances continuously blasted through the air, accurately bombarding the bodies of the fleeing martial artists. Following a series of violent explosions, the cultivators exploded one after another. None of them survived. Qin Yu making a move thoroughly crushed the hopes of those martial artists. One by one, they were defeated swiftly. Leave a few alive and bring them to the authorities to interrogate them. The leading youth of the northern campus seemed to have discovered these martial artists. After instructing them to leave a few alive, he rescued the women in the tents. At this point, their mission could be considered to have been successfully completed. These captives and these women would be arranged by the authorities directly under the imperial family. Boom! However, just as they were about to leave, a huge fireball of 10 feet in size suddenly shot out from the mountain range. Wherever the fireball passed, the ancient trees and boulders were incinerated one after another, leaving a terrifying fire path on the ground. It's the martial king realm. The dragon soul in the dragon god ancient seal immediately sensed it. Hell-suppressing divine spear. Qin Yu took a step forward and rushed towards the fireball head-on. The hell-suppressing divine spear shot out and man and spear became one, like a dragon emerging from the sea. Whoosh! A pure chi and blood energy turned into a fist-thick spear radiance at the tip of the spear and split the fireball in half. Rumble! The fireball split apart and rushed past Qin Yu on both sides. Then, it exploded violently. Raging flames that were as violent as molten lava swept out with a loud rumble. In an instant, the area within a radius of dozens of feet turned into a sea of flames. Even the Earth martial arts realm students of the northern campus found it difficult to resist the power of the true origin fire. Those ordinary women and captives were instantly turned into ashes in the rolling flames. There are 5 martial kings and 20 sky martial arts realm. A cold killing intent appeared in the dragon soul's huge eyes. Looking at the casualties of the northern campus students, Qin Yu narrowed his eyes. It was impossible for martial kings to be reduced to bandits. Moreover, 5 of them appeared at once. This was definitely not a coincidence. And the true origin fireball just now was clearly locked onto him. Could it be that they were specifically targeting him? Thinking of this, Qin Yu held the hell-suppressing divine spear in his right hand and a spiritual array disc appeared in his left hand. He flew into the ancient forest. His target was the place where the 5 martial kings were hidden. Whoosh! Whoosh! When Qin Yu rushed out, true origin fireballs appeared one after another. They appeared in an orderly fashion and even formed a fireball formation that surrounded Qin Yu. 100 Shadows demonic footprint. An afterimage appeared. Qin Yu's body flashed through those frighteningly powerful true essence fireballs. After flying over 30 feet, Qin Yu finally saw the 5 martial kings and 20 sky martial arts realm students. Indeed, the clothes that these people wore were completely different from the bandits from before. He has some ability. No wonder the young master values him so much. A rank 5 martial king crossed his arms and stared at Qin Yu with a sinister smile on his face. Don't underestimate him. The young master said that Wu San's disappearance is very likely related to him. A sturdy martial king beside the rank 5 martial king spoke. Stop talking nonsense. Quickly get rid of them. The rank 7 martial king leading the group gave a sinister order. Even though their target was Qin Yu, since they had run into the northern college students, they naturally could not let them go. As for Qin Yu, There was a rank 4 Martial King and a rank 5 Martial King locking onto him. Boom. But just as the 10 Sky Martial Realm students appeared, a huge creature landed on the ground. It was the Bloodflame Chileen. The young master said that this brat has a Sky Martial Realm demonic beast. It seems that it's true. The rank 7 Martial King leading the group revealed a sinister smile. He gestured to the other 10 Sky Martial Realm students to surround the Bloodflame Chileen. Brat, prepare to die. The 2 Martial Kings who have their eyes on Qin Yu, engulfed in their majestic elemental energy, fiercely attack Qin Yu. Judging from the power of the attack, even a Martial Emperor Realm cultivator would not be able to survive the attack. Just in time, Qin Yu's eyes flashed with a cold light. He retreated and allowed the 2 Martial Kings to approach him. Then, he threw 2 palm strikes at them. Boom. Boom. The profound spiritual runes on the spiritual formation plate lit up. Then, 2 streams of heaven-punishing killing intent instantly shattered the true origin attacks of the 2 Martial Kings and entered their bodies. Following this, the 2 Martial Emperor Realm cultivators, whose faces were filled with murderous intent, exploded instantly, and died without a doubt. Chapter 40. How is this possible? The eyes of the 3 Martial Kings, who had their arms crossed and were watching the show with cold eyes, bulged out. Their eyes were filled with shock. 2 Martial Kings were crushed by a rank 5 Earth Martial Realm cultivator with 1 palm? Even though such a shocking thing happened right in front of their eyes, they still couldn't believe it. Qin Yu's figure flashed. After taking the 2 Sumeru rings, he rushed towards the 3 Martial Kings like lightning. When a cultivator reached the Martial King realm, they could fly. That was Qin Yu's biggest weakness right now. Therefore, he had to kill these 3 Martial Emperor Realm cultivators before they could react. Not good. Feeling the terrifying killing intent from Qin Yu, the 3 Martial Kings felt a chill run down their spines. They subconsciously formed wings with their true origin and prepared to fly into the air. Die. However, at this moment, Qin Yu's speed abruptly increased by several times. He turned into an illusory shadow and rushed before them like lightning. Bang! Bang! Of the 3 Martial Kings, other than the rank 7 Martial King, the other 2 were instantly killed by Qin Yu. Dragon Soul. Seeing that rank 7 Martial King flying at an extremely fast speed, with a thought from Qin Yu, he also jumped high into the sky. Rumble. The Dragon Soul understood and the huge Bloodflame Chileen immediately rushed over. It jumped up and fiercely collided with Qin Yu who was in the air. Qin Yu, who stopped his momentum, stepped on the Bloodflame Chileen with the tip of his foot. Borrowing the huge collision and rebound force, he quickly chased after the rank 7 Heavenly Martial Realm cultivator with cold sweat on his face. Boom! When they were 20 meters apart, Qin Yu's left hand suddenly shot out. Within the spiritual formation plate, 2 heaven-punishing killing intents overlapped. Like a hurricane of destruction, they crossed the distance between them and fiercely bombarded the rank 7 Heavenly Martial Realm cultivator. As expected, the rank 7 Heavenly Martial Realm cultivator also exploded. With a flash of true origin, Qin Yu swept away the Sumeru ring and flipped in the air. He was caught by the Bloodflame Chileen in the air and safely landed on the ground. Huff! Qin Yu exhaled slightly. Fortunately, those Martial Kings were frightened by his means. Otherwise, if 3 Martial Kings were to attack him from the sky, he would have no choice but to flee. Not good, run. He's definitely not in the Earth Martial Arts realm. When the 20 Heaven Realm warriors saw that Qin Yu landed safely, they were already scared out of their wits and they all fled for their lives. In their hearts, Qin Yu was already able to stand shoulder to shoulder with experts like the Martial Emperor. Looking at the North Campus student lying in a pool of blood, a cold light flashed in Qin Yu's eyes as he activated Ghost Shadow Demonic Track. Puff! Puff! Those Sky Martial Realm cultivators didn't even get far before they were all killed by Qin Yu's heaven-punishing killing intent. But at this moment, a great sense of danger suddenly appeared in Qin Yu's mind. Almost without thinking, Qin Yu immediately used 100 Shadows demonic steps and dodged to the side. Crack! The moment Qin Yu moved to the side, the ground where he was standing suddenly cracked and 2 stone pillars rushed out of the ground. The Dragon Soul's reaction was a step too slow. The blood flame Kirin's head was pierced and its life force was exhausted. It's a martial emperor. The dragon soul immediately returned to the ancient seal of the dragon god and warned. Apart from the Jew family, are there any other forces that sent people to kill me? Qin Yu's eyes flashed. Obviously, the martial emperor who attacked him was not a martial emperor from the Jew family. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for him not to save the three martial kings. In any force in the Zhenwu dynasty, a martial king was definitely a force that couldn't be ignored. Shui family? A thought flashed in Qin Yu's mind. In the imperial city, apart from Zhu Tianlang, only Shui Tianwu had a grudge with Qin Yu. Previously, Qin Yu had found it strange that Shui Tianwu, who was arrogant in the past, didn't do anything after he came to the Imperial Sacred Institute. Who would have thought that it was not that Shui Tianwu did not make a move? Instead, he had been preparing his trump card in the dark. As soon as he made a move, he immediately sent out a martial emperor. While Qin Yu was thinking, a figure appeared in the air. He was about 200 feet above Qin Yu and looked down at Qin Yu coldly. Now that the heaven-punishing killing intent has been exposed, it won't be easy to kill this person. The dragon soul looked at the martial emperor and said, unless you can get close to him. Judging from his appearance, he won't give me a chance to get close to him. I can only run. Qin Yu glanced at the martial emperor who kept a distance of 200 feet from him. He knew that the martial emperor must have carefully observed his previous battle, so he immediately ran away. He was forced to run away by a martial emperor. The dragon soul's killing intent was dense. It felt like a tiger that was bullied by dogs, or a dragon that was teased by shrimps in shallow water. How could Qin Yu not feel this way? He was the dragon god emperor of the Qingyun domain, whose name shook the world. Unfortunately, no matter how strong he was in his previous life, he was only a level 5 earth martial arts realm now. Boom! Boom! Seeing this, the martial emperor flew into the air and chased after him. Streaks of earthy yellow true essence that contained terrifying power rained down like a torrential storm. With Qin Yu as the center, the area within 100 feet radius was indiscriminately attacked. Qin Yu relied on the Earth-class spiritual weapon, the hell-suppressing divine spear, and the fire-thunder dragon body to avoid the vital essence attacks. If it was too difficult to dodge, he would use the heaven-punishing killing intent to shatter it. The power of the heaven-punishing killing intent was so strong that even a martial emperor would most likely die if he was hit directly, let alone break through the attack of a martial emperor. However, the 10 streaks of heaven-punishing killing intent stored in the spiritual array disc had been used up when he fought against the Zhu clan's martial king and the heaven martial arts realm. Qin Yu could only rely on the strength of his body to withstand the damage caused by the explosion of the heaven-punishing killing intent in the fairy extermination painting. Under the continuous use of the heaven-punishing killing intent, even the level 1 fire thunder body had bloody wounds on his hands, which were dripping with blood. But it was also because of this that Qin Yu managed to avoid fatal injuries. Sensing the surrounding terrain, he flew into the depths of the mountain range. Only by using the complicated terrain could he possibly get rid of the martial emperor. However, that martial emperor had clearly also sensed Qin Yu's intention. Streaks of vital essence attacks accurately locked onto Qin Yu, making it impossible for him to get rid of them. After a martial artist entered the martial emperor realm, he would have the initial awakening of the soul power. It would not be easy for Qin Yu to get rid of them. Such a terrifying killing intent, yet it can be unleashed continuously. What kind of treasure does this kid have on him? At this moment, the eyes of the martial emperor who was chasing Qin Yu were filled with greed. From the time Qin Yu fought with the 5 martial kings to now when he was being chased, he had released the terrifying killing intent nearly 40 times. The killing intent was powerful enough to make him feel the threat of death, but Qin Yu seemed to be inexhaustible. This made the martial emperor feel a strong sense of greed. As long as he could obtain that treasure, he could become one of the few experts in the Zhenwu dynasty. Cave. At this moment, Qin Yu, who was escaping in a sorry state, suddenly changed his direction. His eyes lit up. Soon, Qin Yu arrived in front of a pitch-black cave. Qin Yu turned his head and looked coldly at the martial emperor who was chasing him. His figure flashed as he directly entered the cave. This caused the martial emperor who was chasing after them to frown. After Qin Yu entered, the aura fluctuations on his body immediately disappeared. He could not sense it, which greatly exceeded his expectations. Preparing to kill him? Looking at Qin Yu, who had used the dark shadow aura holding technique to hide behind the shadow of a sharp stone, as if he had fused with that sharp stone, the dragon soul saw through Qin Yu's plan. Of course. Qin Yu's chest trembled slightly as he circulated his breathing. His gaze was simple and calm. He did not show any signs of life, as if he was just a stone. So what if you are a martial emperor? How dare you chase after me? You are tired of living. Chapter 41. I'm just afraid that he won't dare to come in. Thinking of the caution of the martial emperor, the dragon soul said. If this dragged on, they would be in danger if the martial emperor had other helpers. No, he'll come in. Qin Yu sneered in his heart. He had already noticed the greed in the martial emperor's cold eyes. As a martial emperor, he would definitely not let go of such a treasure in the hands of an earth martial realm cultivator. As long as that person could not suppress the greed in his heart and entered the cave, he would be dead. The situation was just as Qin Yu expected. After a short hesitation, the martial emperor flew to the entrance of the cave. The martial emperor was obviously still very afraid of the danger of the heaven-punishing killing intent. After landing, a layer of true essence several feet thick appeared around his body. A thick shield appeared in his left hand, and a few talismans appeared in his right hand, shining faintly. Looking at his solemn posture, it seemed that he was not dealing with an earth martial realm cultivator, but a martial venerable. Ka. After some preparation, the Sumeru ring on the martial emperor's hand flashed. A wooden puppet beast landed on the ground and walked into the cave. On top of the puppet beast's head, there was a dazzling white light emitting. The situation in the cave was clear and bright. The martial emperor looked around carefully and saw a line of footprints on the ground. It was obvious that he had rushed into the depths of the cave. "Mph, do you think that I can't do anything to you just because you restricted flying?" The martial royal realm expert sneered and slowly walked into the cave. Under such a bright light, Qin Yu had nowhere to hide. In his opinion, Qin Yu rushing into the cave was undoubtedly forcing him into a dead end. The killing intent was indeed terrifying, but the cave was so big. With his current speed and defense, he could completely avoid being hit directly. As long as he avoided the first attack, Qin Yu would definitely die. For a martial emperor to kill a puny earth martial realm cultivator was no different from crushing an ant. Whoosh. However, just as the martial emperor walked to a small sharp stone, the martial emperor suddenly stopped. A streak of black light, which was inconspicuous even under the illumination of the white light, flashed and rushed to the martial emperor's side. Not good. The martial emperor's pupils constricted, and he immediately prepared to use his movement technique to dodge. But in that instant, a powerful soul force attack pierced through his true origin shield like a sharp knife, piercing into his mind. The martial emperor's body trembled, and his eyes clearly became vacant. Bang! In the next moment, Qin Yu struck out with his palm. A monstrous murderous aura wildly erupted. A tunnel that was dozens of feet deep was blasted open on the stone wall of the cave. Cough cough. Qin Yu finally felt relieved after turning the martial dominator realm cultivator into a headless corpse. At this moment, his face was deathly pale and bloodless. His aura was weak, and he was coughing non-stop. There was a faint trace of blood accompanying his coughing. It will probably take me a few months to recover my soul power and heaven-punishing killing intent. The dragon soul inspected Qin Yu's injuries. The secret soul technique had exhausted almost 90% of Qin Yu's soul power. Qin Yu's opponent this time was a martial dominator realm cultivator, not the earth martial arts realm cultivator. Ordinary secret soul techniques would not be able to knock him out. In addition to the great depletion of his soul power, Qin Yu's left hand's flesh, bones, meridians, and internal organs had suffered a great backlash from the heaven-punishing killing intent. After all, Qin Yu had used the heaven-punishing killing intent too many times to fight with the martial emperor. It was fortunate that his physical body had not collapsed. In the heaven-punishing formation, there were only 57 of the original 99 heaven-punishing killing intent left. Although the killing intent could gradually recover as long as the original killing intent did not collapse, it needed to absorb the killing intent. In other words, the killing intent of the heaven punishing formation could only be completely recovered in a fight. Luckily, I found it interesting and cultivated the dark shadow aura holding skill. Qin Yu naturally knew about his injuries. He immediately sat cross-legged on the ground and consumed a few advanced spiritual pills. The dark shadow aura holding skill was an assassination skill in the dark world of the Qingyun realm. After cultivating it, not only could one completely restrain one's life force, true qi, soul and other fluctuations, but one could also merge with the surrounding shadows. Even the slightest bit of black light could be hidden in it. The assassin Di Zun who tried to assassinate Qin Yu had almost succeeded. I have to step into the martial king realm as soon as possible. The dragon soul's expression was grave. To a certain extent, luck played a big role in being able to kill the martial emperor this time. If there were 2 martial emperors next time, or a martial honorable who was stronger than the martial emperor, they would not be able to escape. Yes. Qin Yu nodded. Increasing his strength was indeed the most important thing now. Even with the heaven-punishing killing intent, it was not enough for him to be safe now. 2 hours later, Qin Yu's injuries had mostly recovered. After destroying the martial emperor's body, Qin Yu filled the spiritual array disc with the heaven-punishing killing intent and quickly left. Hey, dragon soul, did you sense it? Qin Yu, who was running through the mountain range in search of a secret place to heal, slightly changed his expression. It's the aura of the dragon scale fruit, and it's gradually ripening. The dragon soul's huge eyes were filled with joy as it immediately sensed it. Southeast. Qin Yu immediately changed his direction and flew away at an extremely fast speed. The dragon scale fruit was rumored to be a strange fruit that contained dragon blood. There was once a martial artist who had swallowed the dragon scale fruit and awakened the dragon bloodline in his body. For ordinary people, these were just rumors. However, Qin Yu knew that the dragon scale fruit did indeed contain the power of dragon blood. This was because the dragon scale fruit could only grow after absorbing dragon blood. More importantly, the dragon scale fruit only existed for a quarter of an hour after it had ripened. This also made the dragon scale fruit extremely rare. Unless one encountered it on the spot and swallowed it, it was impossible to get a dragon scale fruit on the market. Unexpectedly, there was a dragon scale fruit here. This made Qin Yu and the dragon soul overjoyed. Half an hour later, Qin Yu crossed more than half of the mountain range and arrived in front of a deep canyon. Following the aura of the dragon scale fruit, Qin Yu came all the way to the depths of the canyon and finally saw the dragon scale fruit. On the stone walls of the canyon, there were vines the size of a baby's arm. They were like dragons flying in the sky, crisscrossing and covering more than half of the stone wall. In the center of those vines, there was a palm-sized fruit with a pale golden body. On the surface of the pale golden fruit, dragon scale-like patterns could be clearly seen. Sure enough, it's about to ripen. What a good opportunity. Qin Yu's eyes lit up. A dragon scale fruit was equivalent to thousands of spirit pills. After all, no matter how good spirit pills were, one could not always use them to accumulate cultivation. This was a big taboo. Sneak attack. Suddenly, Qin Yu's ears twitched slightly. His eyes turned cold and he quickly moved aside. Ka. 3 sharp arrows, with a sharp sound, shot straight into the stone wall. If Qin Yu had not noticed just now, he would have been killed by the arrows. Not bad, a mere earth martial arts realm martial artist can avoid my attack. A sinister laugh sounded. A young man in his early 20s, wearing a long bow and wearing a luxurious robe, entered the canyon with a team of guards. The person who shot the arrows just now was obviously him. Chapter 42. He glanced at the longbow-wielding young man and the others. The longbow-wielding young man's cultivation had reached half-step martial king. The 3 bodyguards of the young man were all martial kings. One was a rank 5 martial king and the other 2 were rank 4 martial kings. As for the other bodyguards, they were all in the heaven martial realm. Just by looking at them, one could tell that the longbow-wielding young man's background was not small. It seems that you've also taken a fancy to the dragon scale fruit. A trace of killing intent flashed through the longbow-wielding young man's eyes. "It seems that you don't plan to give it to me," Qin Yu said indifferently. "You're courting death. You dare to fight with me?" The longbow-wielding young man drew his bow and 3 arrows were aimed at Qin Yu. "I'll give you a chance. If you cripple your own cultivation now, I can still spare your life. Otherwise what?" Qin Yu smiled, but the coldness in his eyes became even more intense. "Die." The longbow-wielding young man smiled sinisterly. The 3 arrows were covered with true energy and shot towards Qin Yu in an orderly fashion, sealing off Qin Yu's escape routes from both sides. "With just you." This time, Qin Yu did not dodge. He flipped his right hand and the hell-suppressing divine spear appeared. The hell-suppressing divine spear was thrust forth angrily. Before those 3 sharp arrows could even approach Qin Yu, they were all shattered by the hell-suppressing divine spear. Earth-rank spiritual artifact. The longbow-wielding young man was stunned. Then, greed appeared in his eyes as he stared at the hell-suppressing divine spear. The hell-suppressing divine spear was emitting a terrifying fluctuation. It was the spiritual might that only an earth-rank spiritual artifact would have. "Young master, I'm afraid that this person's background is not small." The rank 5 martial king's eyebrows twitched as he quietly said to the longbow-wielding young man. Qin Yu looked like he was in his 20s, but he had an earth-rank spiritual artifact on him. It was clear that he had a great power behind him. So what? He disappeared in the Shadow Moon mountain range. Who can find out that it was us? The longbow-wielding young man's eyes were already filled with greed. No matter how great Qin Yu's background was, he still wanted to kill him and rob him. An Earth martial realm coming out with an Earth-rank spiritual artifact was a typical person who was tired of living. Kill him. Without wasting any time, the young man with the longbow immediately gave the order. When the accompanying Sky martial realm received the order, they all surrounded and attacked Qin Yu. Dragon battling the 9 heavens. Qin Yu was not afraid in the slightest. He held the hell-suppressing divine spear in his hand and used a profound spear technique. He was like a dragon god coming into being, and he killed all the heaven realm cultivators who were rushing over. 120,000 jin of strength, coupled with the battle dragon true chi and the power of the king-level martial skill, the 9 heavens dragon spear art, easily swept through the Sky martial realm without any effort. "All of you, go and slaughter him." The longbow-wielding young man was not angry at all. Instead, the joy on his face was even more obvious. The stronger the hell-suppressing divine spear was, the happier he was. As for those heaven realm warriors, they were just some useless trash. It didn't matter how many of them died or were injured. "Hand over your life." Immediately, the 2 level 4 warriors of the Earth martial arts realm were like wild beasts coming out of their cages. They fiercely pounced on Qin Yu with an extremely frightening power. Whoosh, whoosh. Qin Yu still did not move in the slightest. In his left hand, 2 glowing talismans turned into 2 rays of light and collided with the 2 martial kings. Boom. Seeing this, the 2 martial kings casually used their true origin energy and shattered the talismans. 2 deafening explosions resounded and the entire canyon faintly trembled. However, after the explosions, the 2 martial kings were completely obliterated. It was as if they didn't exist. How could this be? The rank 5 martial king's face was filled with shock. There was even a trace of fear in his eyes. It's a rank 6 talisman. The longbow-wielding young man was quite knowledgeable and he recognized it. A rank 6 talisman that only martial monarchs can refine? After the initial shock, the rank 5 martial king came to a realization. A rank 6 talisman contained the power of a martial monarch. It was no wonder that the 2 talismans were able to kill martial kings. Of course, this also meant that there was an 80 to 90% chance that there was a martial emperor behind Qin Yu. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to carry so many rank 6 talismans with him. The power is pretty good. Seeing the power of the talismans, Qin Yu lightly nodded his head. Naturally, there was no martial monarch behind him. The rank 6 talismans he used earlier were all obtained from the martial monarch. Originally, that martial monarch had wanted to use the talismans to kill Qin Yu. However, he was instead instantly killed by Qin Yu. Rank 6 talismans are indeed very powerful. However, with his Earth Martial Realm cultivation, it is impossible for him to instantly ignite the true origin energy within them. As long as he dodges, he will be a turtle in a jar. The longbow-wielding young man said with a gloomy expression. He did not care about the number of Heaven Martial Realm cultivators that died. However, the death of 2 martial kings caused him to feel heartache. However, he had already lost 2 martial kings. Naturally, he would not stop. He must obtain the hell-suppressing divine spear. Immediately, the rank 5 martial king with cold killing intent in his eyes understood. He immediately flew into the air and began to frantically bombard Qin Yu with astonishing true origin energy attacks. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Qin Yu leapt into the air and used the 100 shadow demonic steps. He left behind a series of afterimages as he leapt towards that martial king. Boom! With a palm strike, a frightening killing intent that could destroy the heavens and the earth burst forth. Half of the martial Emperor Realm cultivator's head was smashed into pieces, causing him to fall from the sky. What is that power? The longbow-wielding young man who was originally staring at Qin Yu with a gloomy expression had turned deathly pale. Even without using a rank 6 talisman, Qin Yu was actually able to kill a rank 5 martial king with a single palm strike. This caused him to be in disbelief. He was unable to believe what he had just seen. Qin Yu did not give the longbow-wielding young man any time to react. After he landed on the ground, he quickly rushed towards the longbow-wielding young man like a cheetah hunting its prey. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The longbow-wielding young man turned pale with fright. He shot out 5 arrows in succession. However, they were all either deflected or shattered by the hell-suppressing divine spear. They were unable to threaten Qin Yu at all. Boom, boom, boom. When the longbow-wielding young man saw this, he hurriedly turned around and fled. While he was fleeing, he exploded many powerful true origin pearls. They were enough to kill a martial king. Clearly, they were used to protect his life. Unfortunately, Qin Yu's 100 shadow demonic steps allowed him to dodge them one by one. He quickly caught up to the longbow-wielding young man. Don't kill me. You can't kill me. I'm the young master of the heavenly star county. Seeing Qin Yu's cold gaze approaching him, the longbow-wielding young man, who was enveloped by a strong sense of death, cried out in fear. Pu. With a swing of the spear, the longbow-wielding young man's hands were pierced. The longbow-wielding young man fell to the ground and he let out a miserable shriek. Do you think your identity is useful here? Qin Yu's gaze was cold. There was not the slightest fluctuation in his gaze. I can tell you a secret. A huge secret. The longbow-wielding young man's face twitched as his hands were pierced. He was drenched in cold sweat. A huge secret. Qin Yu raised his eyebrows. Let's hear it. You have to agree first. You can't kill. The longbow-wielding young man was about to state his conditions, but before he could finish his sentence, his left shoulder was pierced by the spear. His entire body was covered in blood. This caused the longbow-wielding young man to howl even more miserably. He, who had been pampered since he was young, had never suffered such pain before. He didn't care about the conditions and immediately told him the big secret. After Qin Yu heard this, he was slightly surprised. After repeated interrogation, he was even somewhat moved. As for the longbow-wielding young man, Qin Yu naturally didn't spare his life. The world of cultivators had always been one where the strong preyed on the weak. Showing mercy was tantamount to digging one's own grave. If he didn't have many tricks up his sleeve, the person lying dead on the ground would be him. If what he said is true, then that 7-star secret realm space might have been left behind by a Wu Sheng. After killing the longbow-wielding young man, the dragon soul in the ancient dragon seal spoke. Since there is the pressure of the realm of heaven and earth, at the very least, it should be Wu Sheng. Qin Yu also nodded slightly. The big secret that the longbow-wielding young man spoke of was the 7-star secret realm in the heavenly star county of the 100 Battles dynasty. Chapter 43. In the 7-star secret realm, there was a 7-star pagoda, which contained countless treasures. The 7-star secret realm opened once every 10 years, and there were 2 conditions. Only martial artists below the martial royal realm and under the age of 20 could enter. Therefore, every time it opened, more than half of the young experts of the Baijian dynasty would gather. For this reason, the Tianqing County would hold a big martial gathering. Only the top 100 who stood out from the martial gathering were qualified to enter the 7-star secret realm. This is an opportunity. If it's really the place where Wu Sheng died, maybe his saint soul will be left behind. Qin Yu's eyes lit up. Wu Sheng's saint soul was a great supplement for him now. How do you plan to get in? The dragon soul asked. The martial gathering held by the Tianqing County was only open to martial artists of the Baijian dynasty. Therefore, to participate in the martial gathering, one had to be recommended by the forces of the Baijian dynasty. Qin Yu did not know anyone in the Baijian dynasty. Isn't there a ready-made one in front of me? Qin Yu looked at the longbow-wielding young man lying in a pool of blood, and his face was filled with joy. Aren't you afraid that the Tianqing County will find out? The dragon soul understood Qin Yu's meaning. Oh, who would believe that I, a 5th-grade earth martial realm, can kill them? Qin Yu chuckled and flicked his finger. The battle dragon genuine chi broke through the air and swept up the Sumeru rings of the longbow-wielding young man and the others. From the Sumeru ring, Qin Yu saw the longbow-wielding young man's crown prince token. This identity token was much more useful than the recommendation letter. More importantly, Qin Yu also got a 7-colored ancient token. This 7-colored ancient token was the big secret that the longbow-wielding young man had mentioned. After completely destroying the bodies of the martial artists of the Tianqing County, Qin Yu began to wait for the dragon scale fruit to ripen. 5 days passed in the blink of an eye. The fragrance of the dragon scale fruit was even stronger, and it was shining faintly. Finally, it was completely ripe. Poochie. After killing the cyan python that was attracted by the dragon scale fruit, Qin Yu's figure flashed and caught the dragon scale fruit that fell to the ground. Rumble. After leaping into a remote cave, Qin Yu did not hesitate and immediately swallowed the dragon scale fruit. The dragon scale fruit melts as soon as it enters Qin Yu's mouth. A pure medicinal power as vast as a river instantly fills Qin Yu's entire body. Qin Yu felt that all the blood in his body was boiling violently, as if it was being burned by raging flames. It was shockingly hot. Devour. Inside the divine dragon ancient seal, the dragon soul did not rest. It immediately devoured all of the dragon blood contained in the dragon scale fruit. Not long after, strands of light golden-colored blood appeared from the divine dragon ancient seal and fused with Qin Yu's boiling water like blood. After a full 6 hours, the boiling blood in Qin Yu's body gradually calmed down. However, the blood that was originally scarlet had turned a faint golden color. Dragon blood awakening. Rumble. Qin Yu opened his eyes and clenched his fists. With the ancient divine dragon seal refining the energy of the dragon scale fruit, Qin Yu successfully awakened his dragon blood. Rumble. This meant that Qin Yu's physique was about to change and become a true spirit body. A spirit body was an existence even higher than a spirit vein. It was the true darling of heaven and earth. Of course, Qin Yu was not a spirit body yet. It would take a lot of time for it to change. I'm at the peak of the earth martial realm. After awakening his dragon blood, Qin Yu's cultivation had broken through several levels and reached the peak of the earth martial realm. If he were to cultivate normally, even if he had 3 dragon veins in his body, it would still take him a few months. I might as well directly enter the sky martial realm. The martial meet of the 7-star secret realm will be held in 10 days. Let's go to the heavenly star county first. Qin Yu thought for a while and shook his head. Although he could refine the soul refining pill and break through to the sky martial realm, he did not do so. To a martial artist, the foundation was very important. Therefore, when he entered the sky martial realm, his true qi turned into true essence. He could not be careless. Immediately, Qin Yu stood up and left the valley, entering the 100 Battles Dynasty's territory. 9 days later, Qin Yu arrived at the center of the Heavenly Star County, the Heavenly Star City where the martial meet was held. Qin Yu's cultivation was at the peak of the Earth martial realm. Rumble. 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 Those who dared to participate in the martial meet of the 7-star secret realm were all in the sky martial realm. After changing his appearance, Qin Yu passed the recommendation with the longbow-wielding young man's crown prince token. At this moment, Qin Yu did not know that the Heavenly Star Duke's mansion was in chaos. The reason was that the martial meet was about to begin, but the longbow-wielding young man had not returned. In the hall of the Heavenly Star Duke's mansion. It's been more than 10 days. Where did my brother go? A burly young man paced back and forth anxiously in the hall. The burly young man looked similar to the longbow-wielding young man. He was the crown prince of the Heavenly Star Duke's mansion, Xing Yufeng. Crown Prince, there's news. At that moment, a guard of the sky realm hurriedly entered the palace. Tell me. Xing Yufeng's eyes lit up. Someone took the crown prince's crown prince token and came to participate in the martial meet. He said he was recommended by the crown prince. The sky martial realm warrior said. Where is he? Xing Yufeng frowned. The 7-star secret realm was such an important event. His brother would not participate but recommend someone else? This made Xing Yufeng feel strange. Soon, Xing Yufeng and the others found Qin Yu, who was waiting for the martial meet. My brother gave this to you? Xing Yufeng took the crown prince token and stared at Qin Yu. Yes. Qin Yu nodded. Who are you? Why would my brother give this token to you? Xing Yufeng sized up Qin Yu. Qin Yu was young, but he was at the peak of the earth martial realm. His talent was not weak. My name is Jiang Dali. I'm a disciple of the giant spirit sect. The crown prince said that as long as I could enter the 7-star secret realm, he would let me enter the duke's mansion to cultivate. After that, the crown prince went to the Shadow Moon mountain range. Qin Yu's words were half true and half false. The giant spirit sect existed. However, the giant spirit sect was only a small sect located at the edge of the Heavenly Star County. No matter how fast Xing Yufeng and the others were, it would take at least a few days to track it down. By then, Qin Yu would have entered the 7-star secret realm. In the past couple days, Qin Yu had made proper preparations. Shadow Moon mountain range? Could it be? Hearing Qin Yu's words, Xing Yufeng's expression changed slightly. A few days ago, his brother did say that he had found a treasure in the Shadow Moon mountain range. For this, he had specially brought 3 martial king realm cultivators. Could it be that something had happened and he was delayed in the Shadow Moon mountain range? Thinking of this, Xing Yufeng took a deep look at Qin Yu and turned to leave. He sent people to the Shadow Moon mountain range. As for Qin Yu's qualification to participate in the martial meet, he did not stop him. Recruiting geniuses back to the prince's mansion to nurture their cultivation was a common practice among the noble princes. The next day, the martial meet was held like this. Although the Heavenly Star Duke's mansion was the host, the young geniuses who had gathered now were all people with great backgrounds. The Heavenly Star Duke's mansion naturally would not delay the martial meet. The Duke's mansion had cultivated many genius powerhouses. Chapter 44. Dong dong dong. After the heavy bell sounded, all the geniuses who came to participate in the martial gathering gathered in the center of the city. The rules of the martial gathering were quite simple. If you lost, you would be eliminated. Of course, those young geniuses who had entered the martial king realm did not need to fight. There were a total of 34 young geniuses in the martial king realm. In other words, there were only 66 spots for the other geniuses to enter the secret realm. Boom boom boom. On the various arenas, fierce battles unfolded one after another. The scale of this martial gathering was only weaker than the annual 100 Battles assembly in the 100 Battles dynasty. An Earth martial realm cultivator coming to participate in the martial gathering, isn't he too ignorant? Qin Yu's opponent was at the 3rd level of the Heaven martial realm. When he saw Qin Yu, he smiled as if victory was in his hands. Bang! But in the end, he was sent flying by Qin Yu, who was wearing a glove spirit weapon, with a punch and was eliminated. This glove was obtained from the martial monarch. It was a top-grade profound rank spirit weapon. He can easily win against someone who is 3 levels above him. This time, I've recruited a good seedling. Xing Yufeng, who had been paying attention to Qin Yu, was a little surprised. Then, he nodded slightly. Qin Yu's true qi was quite strong and his physical strength was also very strong. It was obvious that his talent was not bad. I heard that the disciples of the giant spirit sect have astonishing attainments in body refinement. It's true. Beside Xing Yufeng, a martial king old man said. Soon, Qin Yu welcomed the second round, the third round, the fourth round. Almost every round, Qin Yu would fight against a heaven martial realm cultivator. However, he won every battle in a domineering manner, and this attracted the attention of many experts. It was unknown if it was a coincidence or good luck, but every time Qin Yu encountered a heaven martial realm cultivator, their strength was not very strong. He did not need to go all out to easily win. However, this was enough to shock people. After all, it was very rare to be able to repeatedly defeat a heaven martial realm cultivator with earth martial realm's true qi. 6 hours later, when the fiery red sun was in the sky, the 66 spots were selected. Except for Qin Yu, who was at the peak of the earth martial arts realm, the rest were all at the high level of the sky martial arts realm. When evening came, a golden starlight descended from the sky and landed in the center of the heavenly star constellation. At the place where the golden starlight landed, there was an altar. On the altar, Qin Yu and the 100 people who had emerged victorious were neatly arranged. Buzz, buzz, buzz. When the golden light fell, the air rippled like water, and then a golden door of light appeared in a flash. Inside the golden light gate, one could see a golden ancient star standing tall. At the top of the golden tower, there were 7 golden stars revolving around it. Remember, you can only stay in there for 3 days. After 3 days, no matter which level of the 7-star ancient pagoda you reached, you must leave. In the Tianqing Commandery Prince's mansion, the old martial king solemnly said to the 100 people, "Go in." As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Yu and the rest of the 100 people jumped into the light gate one after another. The moment he entered the door of light, Qin Yu felt a space-time force appear and pull him into the 7-star ancient pagoda. There is indeed the fluctuation of a sacred soul. The moment they entered the 7-star ancient pagoda, Qin Yu and the dragon soul were shocked. At the top of the 7-star ancient pagoda, they felt a powerful fluctuation of soul energy. Qin Yu looked around and saw the situation around him. The first level was a huge square. There were wooden and stone puppets on the square. Aside from Qin Yu, there were 9 other cultivators here. Out of the 9, 8 were in the 9th grade Sky Martial Realm and 1 was a half-step Martial King. There are still 50 Sky Martial Realm wooden and stone puppet. I've heard that the 7-star ancient pagoda's test is extremely difficult. It really lives up to its reputation. The expressions of the 8 cultivators at the 9th level of the heaven realm all slightly froze. The 7-star ancient pagoda had a total of 7 levels. On the first level, they had to deal with 50 Sky Martial Realm wooden and stone puppets. One could imagine how difficult it would be after that. You're scared by 50 puppets? What a bunch of useless trash. A mocking laugh sounded out. It was the half-step Martial King youth who looked arrogantly at Qin Yu and the others. That youth looked to be around 18 years old. He held a profound spiritual artifact in his hand and there was a strong fluctuation of spiritual artifact on his body. It was clear that he was wearing a defensive spiritual armor. It's Chen Peng from the Chenyuan Commandery Prince's Palace. The Sky Martial Realm cultivators seemed to know who the half-step Martial King youth was, but they didn't dare to say anything. Not to mention the difference in their status, they weren't a match for him in terms of strength. If you want to pass, listen to me from now on. Chen Peng looked at the Sky Martial Realm cultivators arrogantly, but when he looked at Qin Yu, he was stunned. It's said that only the top geniuses can enter the martial gathering of the 7-star pagoda. How come there's a piece of rat shit this time? Chen Peng looked at Qin Yu with disdain. You're only in the Earth Martial Realm, yet you're able to get a spot. Who are you to the Tianqing Commandery Prince's Palace? The Sky Martial Realm cultivators also looked at Qin Yu. During the martial gathering, although Qin Yu had the power to fight those above his level, his opponents weren't strong. Naturally, they suspected that there was something fishy going on. You'd better get lost while I'm in a good mood. Qin Yu glanced at Chen Peng. A half-step Martial King dared to call him a piece of rat shit. He must be tired of living. Ha, a mere Earth Martial Realm cultivator dares to be so arrogant. Qian Peng's eyes twitched and he laughed in anger. Brat, you have to pay the price for being arrogant. Before he finished speaking, Qian Peng suddenly charged out with icy true essence and sent a palm strike at Qin Yu's dantian. Looking at his posture, Qian Peng was planning to destroy Qin Yu's dantian and martial veins with one strike, making him a cripple for the rest of his life. You're courting death. Killing intent flashed in Qin Yu's eyes as he used the 100 shadow demonic steps. Over 20 lifelike illusions appeared. 1,000 demon hands. Qian Peng was startled. He couldn't tell if those illusions were real or fake, so he could only use a wide-range attack. Incomparably violent true essence hands continuously slapped out in all directions. In an instant, all the illusions were shattered, but Qin Yu's true body was nowhere to be seen. This made Qian Peng's heart turn cold. Boom! In the next moment, a deep collision sound rang out. Qian Peng was sent flying 30 meters away as if he was hit by an ancient beast. He crashed into the wooden puppets. Those puppets, which were motionless, immediately moved and covered Qian Peng. Numerous miserable and painful howls continuously emitted from Qian Peng's mouth. He actually destroyed Qian Peng's martial veins? How ruthless! Who is this person? The 8 heaven martial realm cultivators stared blankly as a chill ran down their spines. Qin Yu, who was in the earth martial realm, defeated a half-step martial king with one punch. This was enough to shock them. However, Qin Yu showed no mercy and destroyed Qian Peng's martial veins. This made them feel even more terrified. Qian Peng was the heir of the Qianyuan commandery prince's mansion. Qin Yu actually dared to destroy him. Was he not afraid of the Qianyuan commandery prince's mansion taking revenge? Fortunately, they didn't provoke Qin Yu. Otherwise, they would have ended up worse than Qian Peng. Chapter 45. Qin Yu did not pay attention to them. When the 8 Sky Realm cultivators saw the puppets, they were all lured over by Qian Peng. His body flickered and he instantly passed through the puppet area and entered the 2nd floor. Damn it, I will definitely kill that bastard and wipe out his entire family. Why are you still standing there? Why aren't you saving me? I'm the heir of the Qianyuan palace. If you don't save me, do you know what the consequences will be? Seeing that Qin Yu had left, Qian Peng, who was unceasingly letting out mournful cries, immediately roared at the 8 heaven stage experts. Although his martial vein was destroyed and his dantian's true essence was gone, the defensive spiritual armor on his body gave birth to a true essence shield that blocked the attacks of the puppets. When the 8 Sky Realm cultivators heard that, they looked at each other and planned to attack. The puppets on the 1st floor would not harm people's lives. If they did not attack now, there would be big trouble when Qian Peng looked into it in the future. Bang! But just as they were about to move, a violent explosion suddenly appeared in Qian Peng's body. A wave of berserk and destructive true essence wreaked havoc. Its power was so strong that even the Sky Realm puppets were directly blown to pieces. Hiss! The 8 Sky Realm cultivators all fiercely sucked in a breath of cold air and froze on the spot. They stared blankly at Qian Peng, who turned into a bloody mist and exploded. This was the backup plan that Qin Yu left behind. Since he already destroyed Qian Peng's martial vein, then Qin Yu naturally would not let Qian Peng live. On the 2nd floor, Qin Yu arrived at an illusory space. These lifelike illusory spaces did not affect Qin Yu in the slightest and he easily passed through them. After passing through the illusory space, Qin Yu arrived in front of an ancient palace. At that moment, there were already many martial kings and Sky Realm cultivators exploring the palace. After arriving at the 2nd floor, the 100 cultivators that were separated from each other gradually started to meet up. Qin Yu did not have any interest in exploring the palace and directly headed to the 3rd floor. Following that, the 4th floor, the 5th floor, the 6th floor, Qin Yu did not stop for a moment. There might be many treasures in the 7-star pagoda, but Qin Yu only cared about the Saint's soul. A few days ago, during the battle with the martial king, Qin Yu had consumed a lot of his soul. Now, he had not recovered much at all. He urgently needed that holy soul. Boom! A berserk killing intent exploded as a martial emperor realm figure was smashed into pieces by Qin Yu's palm. At this point, Qin Yu had successfully passed the 7th stage. When he reached the top of the 7-star ancient pagoda, the scenery around him changed. Qin Yu arrived at an ancient cave. Inside the cave, there was a golden figure sitting with his legs crossed. 7 mysterious golden ancient talismans floated around the figure. That is, the eyes of Qin Yu and the dragon soul flickered slightly when they saw the 7 ancient golden symbols. After waiting for hundreds of years, someone has finally come. At this moment, an aged voice came from the golden figure. Qin Yu sensed that a consciousness within the golden silhouette had awakened. Its gaze landed on him. Fated one, it's up to you whether you can obtain my succession. Come here, the aged voice said in a tempting tone. However, Qin Yu did not move. Instead, he burst out laughing. Why are you laughing? The elderly voice within the golden figure seemed to be a little puzzled. Nothing, I just feel that you're too unlucky. Qin Yu's eyes flickered as he looked at the golden figure. Too unlucky? The old voice was obviously startled. Of course, you've waited for hundreds of years, but I'm the one who has come. Qin Yu said with a smile. What do you mean? Don't you want to obtain my succession? The old voice sounded even more astonished. I'm not interested in your succession, but I can't let go of your saint soul. As he spoke, Qin Yu started to form hand seals with his hands. A profound soul imprint started to condense between his brows. Soul-devouring art. Who are you? Why do you know such a forbidden evil art? The elderly voice suddenly became terrified. Even the golden light figure began to tremble violently, as if it would collapse at any moment. Although I don't know why you've given birth to a new consciousness after you passed away, I'll have to give up on your plan of being reincarnated. As soon as he finished speaking, the mysterious seal on Qin Yu's forehead shot into the golden figure at lightning speed. Amidst a terrified cry, the golden figure suddenly exploded, revealing a skeleton inside. The 7 golden ancient symbols flashed and merged with the skeleton, causing the skeleton to gradually shine with golden light, as if it was made of gold. Return. As Qin Yu's hand seal changed, the mysterious seal returned to his sea of soul with a golden saint soul. The golden skeleton was indeed Wu Sheng when he was alive. The 7-star ancient pagoda was also left behind by him. However, for some reason, Wu Sheng had given birth to a new consciousness after he passed away. Therefore, the 7-star ancient pagoda, which was originally used to leave behind his inheritance, had become his plan of being reincarnated. Unfortunately, he was too unlucky. The one who had come was Qin Yu. In the end, not only had his saint soul been taken away, but his saint soul had been completely destroyed. Qin Yu immediately sat down with his legs crossed and his consciousness sank into his sea of soul. Refine. With a thought, Qin Yu's soul power immediately turned into millions of evil dragons and pounced on the saint soul. Immediately, the strong saint soul was disintegrated and refined. Qin Yu's soul power, which had been greatly depleted, was quickly replenished. The aura on his body also became stronger. Time passed slowly. After 6 hours, a wave of soul power that seemed to have materialized rippled out from Qin Yu's body. If one could see through it, one would see that there was an additional grey soul seed in Qin Yu's sea of soul. He actually condensed a soul seed. Could it be that his soul power has awakened? The dragon soul in the ancient dragon god seal exclaimed in surprise when it sensed the fluctuation of soul power from Qin Yu. I've only awakened a single cycle of soul power. A smile appeared on Qin Yu's face. With his cultivation as a martial emperor from his previous life, it was easy to imagine how much his soul power had increased after awakening a single cycle of soul power. After all, martial monarchs had only just begun to awaken their soul power. They could only use it to sense. Only after reaching martial exalted level would they be able to use their soul power. If Qin Yu used his soul power to attack now, there would be no need for him to use the soul path secret technique. There would also be no after effects. Hey! This skeleton? Qin Yu, who had just stood up, suddenly looked at the skeleton that was shining with golden light. This is a puppet spirit artifact refined from Wu Sheng's skeleton, the dragon soul said. However, its fighting power is very weak. It's only comparable to a rank 7 martial king. If Wu Sheng's skeleton was refined properly, it could even reach the peak of his strength when he was alive. However, This Wu Sheng skeleton only had the fighting power of a rank 7 martial king. From this, one could see how weak the refinement was. This should be something that the awakened consciousness refined on its own. Qin Yu examined the golden skeleton carefully. If a new consciousness was born from the skeleton, the consciousness would also die if the skeleton was reduced to dust before the possession. Thus, in order to prevent the consciousness from dissipating, it refined its skeleton into a puppet spirit artifact. There's still a lot of room for improvement. Not bad. After examining the skeleton, Qin Yu used his soul power to form a soul imprint on the skeleton. Da. Right at this moment, the sound of rushing wind could be heard. Following that, 8 figures rushed into the cave. Someone actually beat us to it. The treasure of the 7-star ancient pagoda must have fallen into his hands. When the 8 people that entered saw Qin Yu who had arrived first, their gazes all turned gloomy. Killing intent filled their eyes. Chapter 46. I never thought that someone would actually pass the 7th floor this year. Qin Yu was slightly surprised. The 7th floor of the 7-star ancient pagoda was easy for him. However, it was extremely difficult for other martial kings. Otherwise, it wouldn't have taken hundreds of years for someone to pass the 7th floor. Peak of the Earth martial realm? Brat, how did you get here? After seeing through Qin Yu's power level, the eyes of the handsome young man who is the leader of those 8 people are filled with killing intent. They had paid a huge price to reach the top floor. But in the end, an ant in the Earth martial realm had taken their peaches. Naturally, they couldn't accept it. Of course I walked all the way here. Qin Yu smiled as if he didn't see the killing intent in their eyes. The 8 of them were all in the martial king realm. The cultivation of the leading handsome young man was the strongest. He was a rank 5 martial king. As for the other 7 people, they were all rank 3 martial kings. Being able to reach this stage before the age of 20 was enough to show how talented they were. That means that the treasure on the top floor is also in your hands. The chilling killing intent on the bodies of the handsome young man and the other 7 grew even denser. I was just about to take it when you guys came up. Qin Yu waved his right hand and a 7-colored ancient token appeared in his hand. The fluctuation of that ancient token is exactly the same as the one in the 7-star ancient pagoda. The eyes of the 8 martial emperor realm cultivators were filled with greed after seeing the 7-colored ancient badge. Qin Yu gives a faint smile. He turns around and walks towards the depths of the cave where there is a rock wall flickering with a 7-colored light. He ignored the greed in the eyes of the 8 youths. You're courting death. Kill him. That handsome youth's killing intent bursts out. Like an eagle soaring through the sky, he grabs at Qin Yu with a violent killing intent. The 7 martial emperor realm cultivators followed closely behind, unleashing their raging true qi. Bang! 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 However, right at this moment, a golden light appeared before the 8 martial kings like a bolt of lightning. A series of explosions could be heard as the 8 martial emperor realm geniuses were knocked back. Shockingly, it was Wu Sheng's skeleton that made the move. Rank 7 martial king? True Kang elemental energy? When they saw the golden skeleton blocking their path, the expressions of the handsome young man and the others turned grave. The golden skeleton's cultivation was only 2 levels higher than theirs. However, the gap in their combat strength was incomparably huge and difficult to bridge. This golden skeleton wasn't just a puppet spirit artifact, it was more important. The true essence power of the puppet had already turned into true spirit energy. Could it be that this skeleton was a martial emperor when he was alive? The same thought appeared in the minds of the 8 martial king youths. After a martial artist enters the sky martial arts realm, their true chi turns into true essence. When he entered the martial king realm, his true essence C would condense into an inner core, and his true essence would give birth to righteous force. Only when one reaches the martial emperor realm and awakens their soul power, will they be able to replace their true origin with true Kang origin energy. At this moment, Qin Yu held the 7-colored token and easily entered the 7-colored stone wall. Inside the stone wall was a simple and unadorned secret room. The secret room wasn't big, only about 10 feet wide. There were wooden shelves inside, on which there were cultivation techniques, martial techniques, secret manuals, etc. In addition, there were many spirit artifacts, the worst of which was a profound artifact. There were even a few Earth-rank spirit artifacts, but no Heaven-rank spirit artifacts. Qin Yu swept everything clean. If these cultivation techniques, martial techniques, and spirit artifacts were brought back to the Qin clan, it would allow the Qin clan's foundation to reach the level of a superclan. Anyhow, this is Wu Sheng. It can't be that he only has this much wealth. The dragon soul in the ancient dragon seal said. It is indeed strange. Qin Yu nodded slightly. He looked at the empty secret room and spread out his soul power. Secret compartment. Immediately, Qin Yu found a secret compartment in the secret room. After easily breaking through the seal formation array that was hidden above, Qin Yu opened the secret compartment. Heaven Grade 9. Qin Yu and the dragon soul's eyes lit up. In the secret compartment, there was a small 7-colored ancient pagoda. The 7-colored ancient pagoda was only the size of a palm, and it emitted 7-colored starlight. Its spiritual power was shocking. It was a heaven artifact, and a top grade 9 heaven artifact. It's a ceiling-type spiritual artifact. Qin Yu picked up the 7-star ancient pagoda and poured his true yuan into it. His face was filled with joy. Although the 7-star ancient pagoda couldn't increase one's offensive power, it could suppress an area. In other words, anyone who entered the area covered by the 7-star ancient pagoda would be greatly suppressed. The sealing ability of the 7-star ancient pagoda was even rarer and more terrifying than an offensive-type spiritual artifact. With a full harvest, Qin Yu left the private room contentedly. However, the moment he left the secret room, the space in the cave became distorted. In the next moment, Qin Yu appeared in a huge square. Other than Qin Yu, all the martial artists who entered the 7-star ancient pagoda appeared in the square. What happened? This seems to be the exit of the 7-star ancient pagoda. No way. Didn't they say that we have 3 days to explore? Yeah, it hasn't even been a day. The young martial artists who were teleported out of the 7-star ancient pagoda were confused and started to discuss among themselves. Qin Yu's expression changed slightly. He understood the reason. It was most likely because he had taken the 7-star ancient pagoda. It's time to leave. Qin Yu thought. A golden light flashed across the sky, and Wu Sheng's skeleton flew toward him. It's flying that way. Get out of my way. Don't even think about running away. However, along with the martial saint skeleton, there were also 8 aggressive young martial kings. That's Kai Changhong, the crown prince of the Scarlet Cloud Palace. Rumor has it that Crown Prince Kai Changhong has awakened a grade 4 heavenly vein. He's a rare talent in the 100 Battles dynasty. That's weird. That brat is only in the Earth martial realm. Why would he be targeted by Crown Prince Kai Changhong? The surrounding young geniuses, including the martial emperor realm geniuses, glanced toward them curiously. Brat, hand over the treasures in the 7-star ancient pagoda. Otherwise, don't even think about walking out of here alive. After Kai Changhong and the others appeared, they immediately split up and surrounded Qin Yu. Did he get the treasures in the 7-star ancient pagoda? That can't be. He's only in the Earth martial realm. How could he pass the test of the 7-star ancient pagoda? Look at that golden skeleton. It's a puppet, and it's a rank 7 martial king. Could it be that he relied on the golden skeleton to enter the 7th floor? Kai Changhong's words caused a commotion among the young prodigies in the surroundings. Numerous greedy and fiery gazes landed on Qin Yu's body. As the geniuses of the 100 Battles dynasty, they naturally wouldn't think much of a mere Earth martial realm cultivator. If it wasn't for Kai Changhong and the others from the Scarlet Cloud Palace, they would have already snatched the treasures. If you want to keep me here, we'll have to see if you have what it takes. Even though he was surrounded by numerous enemies, Qin Yu's expression was indifferent. He was not moved in the slightest. Chapter 47. A mere ant in the Earth martial realm. Do you think that I can't do anything to you with this golden skeleton? Kai Changhong sneered. I'll let you know that killing you is as easy as slaughtering a dog. The 7 martial king youths surrounding Qin Yu immediately pounced at the golden skeleton. At the same time, Kai Changhong's figure flickered and a fist of origin energy flew towards Qin Yu. Under normal circumstances, with his cultivation as a rank 5 martial king, he could kill an Earth martial realm cultivator with a wave of his hand. Unfortunately, the opponent that Kai Changhong encountered this time around was Qin Yu. Let's see who's going to be slaughtered like a dog. A cold smile appeared on Qin Yu's face. A spiritual array disc appeared in his right palm. Taking a step forward, Qin Yu sent out a palm strike at the incoming Kai Changhong, which was covered in quintessence energy. Danger! Kai Changhong's expression changed and a chill appeared in his heart. He immediately retreated. At the same time, an ancient talisman appeared in his hand and turned into a thick shield. 100 Shadows demonic footprint. However, Qin Yu seemed to have sensed his movements in advance. Numerous after-images appeared and chased after him like lightning. Boom! Under Kai Changhong's terrified and despairing gaze, a monstrous destructive killing intent instantly swallowed him up like a divine dragon that could destroy the world. The surrounding geniuses were all dumbfounded. The genius who had awakened a rank 4 heavenly vein and whose name shook the 100 Battles dynasty disappeared before their eyes. Furthermore, the killing intent didn't diminish in the slightest. It continued forward and killed the 3 martial king cultivators who were attacking Wu Sheng's skeleton. Whoosh! In an instant, the surrounding young geniuses came to their senses and hurriedly retreated far away. The greed and fiery passion in his eyes had completely disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by deep fear and alarm. A single palm strike killed a rank 5 martial king and 3 rank 3 martial kings. Was this something an Earth martial realm cultivator could do? Not to mention Earth martial realm cultivators, even martial king cultivators wouldn't be able to do this. Only a martial emperor could have such a shocking combat strength. Crown Prince. Let's go. The faces of the 4 surviving martial kings paled when they saw Kai Changhong's corpse. As Kai Changhong's personal bodyguards, they would not be able to escape the wrath of the king's manor if Kai Changhong died. But now, if he continued to stay here, he would immediately be killed by Qin Yu. Qin Yu's figure flashed. He grabbed Wu Sheng's skeleton and chased after them. Boom! Boom! Under the terrifying destructive murderous intent, 3 more of the 4 martial emperor realm cultivators were killed. However, one of them used a powerful secret technique and flashed out of the square. You sure run fast. Qin Yu raised his eyebrows and descended from the sky. He put away Wu Sheng's skeleton and strode out of the square. After passing through the light screen at the edge of the plaza, Qin Yu appeared in Heavenly Star City. But as soon as he appeared, a terrifying murderous intent pressed down on him. Qin Yu looked up and saw several figures with powerful auras standing in the air in Heavenly Star City. Their murderous intents were locked on him. The insignia on their bodies indicated that they were from the Celestial Star Commandery Prince's mansion. They were all martial kings and the stronger ones were even martial emperors. There is no Jiang Dali in the giant spirit sect. Who are you? Where is my little brother? Xing Yufeng, the leader, stepped out in the air and stared coldly at Qin Yu. You found out so quickly. Qin Yu was slightly surprised. Looking at the scorching sun in the sky, it was only 10 o'clock in the morning. It had only been a little more than a night since he entered the 7-star ancient pagoda. The Heavenly Star Duke's manor acted a little too quickly. Qin Yu did not know that before the people from the Heavenly Star Duke's manor went to the Giant Spirit Sect to investigate, they met the elders of the Giant Spirit Sect in Heavenly Star City. With Qin Yu's cultivation and talent, he only needed to ask once to immediately know that it was a fake identity. You don't need to know who I am. As for your little brother, I'm sorry, but he has already died in my hands. Qin Yu spread out his hands. I didn't want to kill him, but he asked for it. Little bastard, how dare you kill my little brother? Hearing this, Xing Yufeng's face twisted hideously. I will exterminate your 9 generations and tear you into pieces. Kill. Practically at the same time Xing Yufeng gave the order, the martial monarchs and martial kings in the sky had already made their moves. Many horrifying quintessence attacks exploded like a violent storm. Just in time. 7-star ancient pagoda, seal it. Since Qin Yu dared to admit it in front of everyone, he naturally had enough confidence. A seven-colored starlight suddenly appeared, and the seven-star ancient pagoda rose into the air. It turned into an ancient pagoda that was 100 feet tall, standing tall in the air. The seven-colored starlight carried with it a surging spiritual power. It was mighty and overflowed, suppressing everything. After the martial emperors and martial kings were enveloped by the seven-colored starlight of the seven-star ancient pagoda, they felt as if they had fallen into a quagmire, and their speed was greatly reduced. More importantly, their combat strength was suppressed by nearly 30% at this moment. The power is not bad. Qin Yu's eyes lit up. If they were at the same level, and their combat strength was suppressed by 30%, they would be completely crushed. More importantly, Qin Yu was only in the earth martial arts realm, so he could not completely unleash the power of the seven-star ancient pagoda. When his cultivation became stronger, the sealing power of the seven-star ancient pagoda would definitely be more powerful. If you want to tear me into pieces and exterminate my 9 generations, I will send you out of the way first. Seeing that the martial kings and martial emperors were about to rush out of the seven-colored starlight, Qin Yu's eyes turned cold. Boom, boom, boom. Immediately, Qin Yu used his powerful soul perception to avoid the violent attacks and immediately used the 100 shadow demonic steps. As dozens of shadows flashed through the void, the martial emperors and martial kings whose speed was suppressed could only watch helplessly as the incomparably terrifying killing intent rushed towards them with unstoppable force. In the blink of an eye, all the strong cultivators were reduced to ashes. The martial emperors and martial kings were as weak as ants. Hiss! The martial kings and martial emperors who were watching the battle from afar saw Qin Yu, who was like a god of death descending into the world. Their faces were pale, and their bodies were emitting cold air. What did they see? Martial emperors and martial kings were killed in the blink of an eye. Who exactly was that earth martial arts realm youth? Could he be a martial honorable? There are only 9 strands of heaven-punishing killing intent left. Within the ancient dragon seal, the dragon soul reminded Qin Yu. The previous continuous battles had consumed a lot of heaven-punishing killing intent. 9 strands is enough. Hearing that, Qin Yu indifferently looked to the deathly pale and incomparably frightened Xing Yufeng. Who dares to be impudent in my heavenly star city? Right at the moment when Qin Yu fixed his eyes on Xing Yufeng, an imposing and vast loud shout suddenly exploded in the horizon. Martial honorable. Qin Yu's eyes flashed. He couldn't be bothered to attack Xing Yufeng. He called back the 7-star ancient pagoda and took Wu Sheng's corpse out of Heavenly Star City. The current him couldn't deal with a martial honorable. The surviving martial emperors and martial kings did not dare to step forward to stop Qin Yu. They could only watch as Qin Yu swaggered off. Whoosh! Almost at the same time, a destructive tornado appeared, and a figure appeared in the battlefield. It was a man wearing a long green robe and emitting a terrifying and majestic aura. Chapter 48. Father. Seeing the man in the green robe, Xing Yufeng, who was originally terrified, immediately went up to him. This man was the Lord of Skystar County, the Skystar Commandery Prince. He was also the only martial venerable expert in Skystar County. What's going on? The Skystar Commandery Prince, who had just come out of seclusion, saw the broken bodies on the ground. His face suddenly darkened, and a terrifying aura shrouded the entire Skystar County. The martial artists in the city were all terrified, as if they were being stared at by a peerless ferocious beast. Seeing this, Xing Yufeng immediately explained what had happened. Before Xing Yufeng could finish, the Skystar Commandery Prince's face darkened, and a murderous aura filled the air. A majestic soul power swept out, and in a flash, he rushed out of Skystar County. Surprisingly, that direction was precisely the direction that Qin Yu had fled to. Xing Yufeng and the other martial artists of the Skystar Commandery Prince's mansion hurriedly broke through the wind and flew away. The onlooking martial artists also followed one after another. However, when Xing Yufeng and the others caught up with the Skystar Commandery Prince, they saw him standing on a mountain peak, motionless, with a ghastly expression. On the mountain peak, there was a mysterious and complex array on a huge stone open space. Some of the martial artists who were proficient in arrays could tell at a glance that it was a teleportation array. However, when they saw that the teleportation array was broken, they knew that it could no longer be used. What a shrewd person! When the martial artists who were chasing after him saw this, they could not help but feel a chill in their hearts. This was a backup plan that had long been prepared to escape, so the Skystar Commandery Prince's mansion could not chase after him. I've issued a must-kill order. Whoever brings me his head will be rewarded with 10 million spiritual stones. The Skystar Commandery Prince's words were chilling to the bone. The little prince had been killed, the treasures in the 7-star pagoda had been taken away, and the murderer had escaped unscathed. This time, the Skystar Commandery Prince's mansion had lost all its face. In just a few hours, Qin Yu's disguise and characteristics had been completely spread throughout the Baizhan dynasty. Half a day later, the Commandery Prince's mansion of Kaiyun, which was more powerful than the Commandery Prince's mansion of the Celestial Star Commandery Prince's mansion, also issued an arrest warrant for Qin Yu. This made Qin Yu, who was only at the peak of the Earth Martial realm, become a hot topic in the 100 Battles dynasty. There were all kinds of rumors about him. It was so much so that even the neighboring empires had heard of Qin Yu's deeds. However, it was a pity that Qin Yu had completely disappeared after that and never appeared again. Half a month later, at the border of the Zhenwu dynasty. Boom! Within a hidden cave, Qin Yu, who was originally sitting cross-legged with his hands forming hand seals, suddenly emitted a solid blade-like energy that swept out with a loud bang. Crack, crack, crack. The cave shook violently, and cracks appeared on the walls of the cave. In the next moment, Qin Yu's qi and blood surged as a massive qi and blood dragon vaguely condensed behind him. It raised its head and let out a soundless roar, exuding a supreme dragon's might. Sky Realm. Qin Yu opened his eyes. A golden dragon's silhouette flashed through his eyes in an instant. After half a month of closed-door cultivation, Qin Yu had finally refined all the genuine qi in his body into genuine origin. Qin Yu opened his 5 fingers, and a battle dragon genuine origin appeared in his palm. However, Qin Yu's genuine origin carried a dark power. This was Qin Yu's dark devouring attribute. After entering the Sky Martial realm, Qin Yu's dark devouring attribute had become stronger and stronger. If a Sky Martial realm cultivator of the same level fought with him, more than half of his genuine origin would be devoured. During the transformation of his cultivation, the awakened dragon blood in Qin Yu's body also changed a lot. It kept merging with his flesh and bones, making the dragon blood qi in his body stronger and stronger. It's almost time to return to the Saint Academy. Calculating the time, it had been more than a month since he came out to carry out the mission of the Saint Academy. After leaving the cave, Qin Yu left the barren mountain where he was and walked toward the true martial imperial city. In order to prevent being tracked, Qin Yu did not leave through the Shadow Moon mountain range after being teleported away from the Heavenly Star County. Instead, he went around the Shadow Moon mountain range and hid in this barren mountain range. Rumble. 2 days later, Qin Yu, who was hurrying on his way, suddenly heard a shocking explosion in the distance. Qin Yu stopped for a moment and took out Wu Sheng's skeleton. He flew into the air and looked into the distance. In the distance, billowing smoke rose into the sky, and countless flames splashed in all directions like fireworks. Volcano. Qin Yu's eyes lit up. What good luck! The dragon soul grinned. Qin Yu's fire-thunder dragon body needed to be tempered by fire and thunder. This volcanic eruption was a good opportunity to temper it. Immediately, Qin Yu landed on the ground, put away the ancient saint's skeleton, and quickly ran into the distance. Wu Sheng's skeleton had been seen by many warriors in the Heavenly Star County. Although Qin Yu had already returned to the true martial dynasty's territory, he still would not use it easily. If the Heavenly Star County and the Kaiyun County knew his true identity, there would be a lot of trouble. The 2 county kings' mansions, which had martial venerables, were not a joke. Qin Yu, who was running at full speed using the 100 Shadows demonic steps, finally saw that 10,000 feet large volcano after flying for over 2 hours. At this time, the volcano had calmed down. The area within a radius of hundreds of miles around the volcano had been turned into ruins by the eruption of magma and fire stones. However, to Qin Yu's surprise, there were many figures in the ruins, as if they were collecting fire stones. When Qin Yu approached, he found that the people in the ruins were ordinary people. Only a few of them had cultivation, and there were even many old people and children among them. Qin Yu glanced at them and recognized them. These people, who were dressed in rags, were obviously mining slaves. Now, they were obviously looking for the volcanic ores that had been spewed out with the eruption of magma. Under the high temperature of the flaming ores, the mining slaves were sweating profusely. Many of them even had obvious burn marks on their bodies. However, they did not dare to stop at all and shuttled back and forth in the flaming area. Keep your spirits up. Whoever misses a piece of fire iron ore, I'll break their legs. Why are you all so slow? A bunch of useless rice buckets, you only know how to eat every day. Whoever dares to be lazy, I will whip him to death. Curses could be heard one after another. From time to time, the sound of whips lashing out and painful howls could be heard. Qin Yu tilted his head and saw a few warriors in the Xian martial realm, holding long whips, walking back and forth among the mining slaves. From time to time, they would whip those miners fiercely. Most of the absentee workers had bloody whip wounds on their bodies. Even the elderly and children had such wounds. What are you thinking about? Seeing Qin Yu standing still, the dragon soul asked with some doubts. Nothing. Qin Yu came back to his senses and waved away the memories of his childhood in his previous life. He retracted his gaze and planned to climb the volcano. Bang! However, at this time, a hunched and withered old man, carrying a basket of flaming ores, accidentally fell to the ground and the ores in the basket scattered on the ground. Chapter 49. Damned old thing, it's your fault again. I'll whip you to death today. When a profound martial realm supervisor saw this, he immediately walked over fiercely and lashed out with his whip, as if he was going to beat him to death. The old man howled in pain as he rolled back and forth on the ground. Grandfather! Don't hit my grandfather! At this moment, two anxious voices sounded. Two thin and small figures hurriedly threw down the oars in their hands and ran over with crying voices. The two figures were a 7 or 8-year-old boy and girl. What are you doing? You two little bastards, are you trying to rebel? When the profound martial realm supervisor saw that the little boy and girl were still running over, his face revealed a sinister killing intent. Since you're tired of living, then I'll fulfill your wish. As soon as he finished speaking, the whip in his hand surged with true chi. Like a poisonous snake coming out of its hole, it viciously pounced towards the two children. Looking at the power of the whip, if they were hit, they would die without a doubt. Don't come over. The old man covered in wounds wanted to stop it, but he couldn't even stand up. He could only watch as the true chi whip approached the two children with tears in his eyes. When the other profound martial realm saw this, they crossed their arms in front of their chests as if they were watching a good show. Whoosh! Just as the true chi whip was about to hit the two children, a sharp sound rang out. A sharp sound pierced through the air as a small stone struck the whip, causing it to miss. Who is it? The profound martial realm was startled and then became furious. His killing intent swept across the surrounding cultivators before finally landing on Qin Yu. Little bastard, was it you who launched a sneak attack? The profound martial realm's face was incomparably gloomy as he stared at Qin Yu with cold killing intent. When the other profound martial realm supervisors saw this, they also gathered with unfriendly expressions. Qin Yu's gaze turned cold as killing intent surged in his heart. Within the divine dragon ancient seal, the dragon soul was slightly surprised. Qin Yu actually had killing intent. Was it because of those two children? Reckless dog, you dare to sneak attack me? See if I don't whip you to death. The face of the profound martial realm that was hit by the stone was dark and cold. Wait, Lei Ma. Many of my slave miners have been killed recently. Ask him where he came from and capture his whole family as mine slaves. At that moment, a sturdy profound martial realm cultivator seemed to have thought of something and quickly said, "Why don't you take it easy? It hasn't even been a month and you've already killed dozens of people. Be careful that you don't complete the mission on time." A Xian martial realm cultivator laughed. Hehe, they're just lowly commoners. We can capture as many as we want. What's the big deal about beating a few dozen of them to death? Our Lei family is now a relative of the emperor. That strong cultivator of the Xian martial realm burst into loud laughter. He didn't care about the lives of the slaves at all. Don't worry. Since he dared to ambush me, even death by 1,000 cuts wouldn't be enough to appease the hatred in my heart. How could I let him die so easily? The profound martial realm cultivator's expression became even more sinister. Whoosh. The whip in the profound martial realm cultivator's hand was covered in chi, and it was like an arrow piercing through the air as it flew towards Qin Yu's head. When the other slaves saw this, they couldn't help but turn their heads away. They had seen many people being whipped by a profound martial realm cultivator. That youth probably wouldn't be able to escape death. Boom. An explosion sound was heard. However, the scene of Qin Yu's head exploding as everyone expected did not appear. At the moment when that whip was about to hit Qin Yu, it suddenly exploded. What's going on? That Xian martial stage expert holding the tail of the whip is startled and looks at Qin Yu in a daze. The other profound martial realm supervisors also didn't react. Whoosh. At this moment, Qin Yu made his move. He pointed his finger at the profound martial realm supervisor, and a faint black origin energy flashed in the air and entered the profound martial realm's body. What is this? It hurts. Save me. The profound martial realm cultivator's body trembled as he suddenly let out a miserable howl. His entire body turned red at this moment. There seemed to be countless insects crawling under his skin as his face became sinister. His hands were constantly scratching his face as if he wanted to pull something out of his body. However, he only left behind a trail of blood. You! What did you do to him? The faces of the profound martial realm cultivators changed as they looked at Qin Yu with fear. They originally thought that Qin Yu was just an ordinary youth that could only be dealt with as they wished. But now, it seemed that this handsome youth wasn't as simple as he seemed. He wanted to kill me, so I made him wish he was dead. That's all. Qin Yu said with an indifferent voice. Do you know who we are? We are from the Flaming Cloud City's Lei family. Our young miss is the wife of the second prince. If you dare to kill someone from the Lei family, then wait for your entire family to be annihilated. The burly profound martial realm supervisor felt a chill run down his spine. He could tell how much pain the lightning horse was suffering from just by hearing its miserable cries. Flaming Cloud City's Lei family? Second prince? I've never heard of it. However, I'm not happy with what you said. Qin Yu flicked his finger and a faint black origin energy entered the burly profound martial realm supervisor's body. Immediately, the burly profound martial realm supervisor crawled like a worm as his miserable howl resounded through the sky. Not good. Run. When the other profound martial realms saw this, their faces changed and they immediately ran. No matter how blind they were, they knew that Qin Yu's strength far surpassed theirs. Otherwise, it was impossible for him to cripple two profound martial realms with just a flick of his finger. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The moment the profound martial realm supervisors moved, streams of origin energy broke through the void and ended their lives. What strength! The slave miners, who thought that Qin Yu was dead for sure, were all dumbfounded. He actually killed those ferocious profound martial realm supervisors with just a flick of his finger. Big brother, thank you. The little boy and girl helped the old man up. Their eyes were filled with yearning. Here's some money. Take it and leave this place as soon as possible. Qin Yu flicked his finger and a small amount of money appeared. Now that the supervisors were dead, the Lei family behind them would definitely not let this matter rest. The other slave miners might be able to escape this calamity, but the old man and the other two wouldn't be able to escape this calamity. And you guys. If anyone investigates this matter, tell them that the one who killed them is Qin Yu from the Dragon Spirit City's Qin family. Qin Yu said to the slave miners, who were still in a daze, before he headed for the volcano that was emitting shocking fire runes. Although the Flaming Cloud City's Lei family seemed to have some relationship with the royal family, Qin Yu wasn't worried about the Qin family's safety with Master Guyuan in the Dragon Spirit City. You are a little strange. The Dragon Soul asked Qin Yu in astonishment. In his impression, Qin Yu never meddled in other people's business. But today, he had the intention to kill for these slave miners. It was simply too abnormal. Chapter 50. Qin Yu's style of doing things in the heaven realm had always been to do as he pleased. It could be said that he was both good and evil. In the past, countless disasters had happened in the heaven realm, and countless lives had been lost, but Qin Yu had never wavered. So why was he sympathizing with these slave miners today? It's nothing. It's just that seeing them reminded me of my past life situation with Xingluo when I was young. Qin Yu shook his head slightly. Situation when you were young? Were you also slave miners when you were young? The dragon soul asked with interest. When Qin Yu had cultivated its intelligence, Qin Yu had already become the famous Shenron Great Emperor, and Xingluo had also become the Mad Dragon Great Emperor. Later on, the two of them advanced even further, reaching the Emperor realm. The dragon soul was very curious about what Qin Yu and Xingluo were like when they were young. Not slave miners, but herb slaves. The dragon soul was stunned. What was a herb slave? A herb slave was a slave that specialized in testing medicine for alchemists and herb collectors. A newly discovered herb or a new pill had to be tested by someone to know its specific effect. That was why herb slaves were called herb slaves. The mortality rate of herb slaves was much higher than that of slave miners. Qin Yu was born as a herb slave, but he was able to become the Dragon God Emperor. One could imagine how difficult it was for him. No wonder you couldn't believe it even after Xingluo attacked you. The dragon soul understood why Qin Yu trusted Xingluo so much in his past life. It also understood why Qin Yu pursued martial arts wholeheartedly. Now that I think about it, my past life was really laughable. Qin Yu laughed self-deprecatingly. In his past life, he treated Xingluo as his brother, but he was betrayed and fell to his current state. In order to pursue stronger martial arts, he chose to ignore Fairy Shualan's feelings. In the end, he regretted it now. As long as I'm not dead, the regrets of my past life can be made up for in this life. The dragon soul could understand Qin Yu's thoughts. That's true. Qin Yu regained his usual calmness and spread out his soul perception. Soon, he found a passage into the volcano. Looking at the tunnel, it seemed that it was dug out by the slave miners. With a flicker, Qin Yu disappeared into the tunnel, heading deeper into the volcano. The volcano had just erupted, and the heat waves it emitted were like flames. Ordinary people would not be able to enter. Relying on his soul perception, Qin Yu arrived at the bottom of the volcano and saw the violently churning lava. Perfect. Qin Yu narrowed his eyes, and after a thin layer of true essence covered his body, he directly stepped into the lava lake and sat down cross-legged, with only his head exposed outside. Previously in the fog swamp, Qin Yu's cultivation base was not high enough, so he only dared to absorb the earth-fire qi. But now, it was different. Jin Qi had already transformed into Jin Yuan, and the power of the two could not be compared. The current Qin Yu was completely capable of directly entering the magma fire lake to temper his body to the greatest extent. In the blink of an eye, Qin Yu's face turned red, and white mist rose from his head. It was easy to imagine the kind of pain one would have to endure if one were to directly enter the magma fire pool. Even if Qin Yu's fire lightning dragon physique had reached the first level, he would still be unable to endure it. However, Qin Yu's expression did not change in the slightest, as if he did not feel the intense pain coming from his body. As Qin Yu continued to circulate the fire lightning dragon physique, strands of astonishing flame aura surged back and forth in his flesh, bones, meridians, and organs, quietly fusing together. The blood aura on Qin Yu's body clearly became stronger. A day later, when Qin Yu was training in the magma fire pond in this volcanic region, Qin Yu was in a daze. The Lei family already knew that the profound martial realm supervisors had been killed. A large group of Earth Martial Realm and Sky Martial Realm warriors of the Lei family whistled over. Ninth Elder, the matter has been investigated clearly. The person who killed the supervisors is said to be from the Dragon Spirit City's Qin family, a brat called the Qin family. However, I've heard of the Dragon Spirit City. It's only a small city. That brat killed people and still dared to leave his name, so it might be fake. On the empty ground of the lava lake, an Earth Martial Realm warrior respectfully reported to an old man in the Heaven Martial Realm. In front of the old man in the Heaven Martial Realm were the profound Martial Realm supervisors whose heads were pierced through. There were also 2 corpses that were covered with bloody claw marks. Their faces were sinister and twisted, but there was also a hint of relief. Didn't they say that the brat never came out after entering the double-headed volcano? Have you found him? The old man in the heaven martial realm asked with a cold expression. We've searched all the ore tunnels, but we didn't find any traces. Unless he hid at the bottom of the volcano, but right now, even heaven martial realm warriors cannot stay there for long. The earth martial realm warrior shook his head. From his point of view, since he dared to kill people from the Lei family, he must have escaped long ago. How could he still stay there and seek his own death? But he didn't expect that not only did Qin Yu enter the bottom of the volcano, he even hid in the lava lake to cultivate. Issue an arrest warrant and capture the 3 slave miners that escaped. Also, send someone to the Dragon Spirit City to investigate the identity of this Qin Yu. The old man in the heaven martial realm eerily gave the order. Then Ninth Elder, how should we deal with these slave miners? The brawny man in the earth martial arts realm looked at the shivering slaves and asked. A group of lowly slave miners actually caused the death of several clansmen of my Lei family. Execute them all. The Ninth Elder threw down those words with dense killing intent and mounted his horse. Understood. The earth martial realm warrior revealed a sinister smile. Time passed day by day. After 12 days, a boundless aura exploded from Qin Yu, who was sitting cross-legged in the lava. The surrounding magma was instantly swept away and pushed away. Qin Yu's true body was revealed. At this time, Qin Yu's skin turned light red with a hint of gold. Even faintly, one could see a mysterious flame spirit pattern appearing. Fourth revolution, fire thunder dragon body. Qin Yu opened his eyes. Golden light flickered in his pitch-black eyes. In these 12 days of cultivation, his fire thunder dragon body had directly broken through to the 3rd level, and his physical strength had reached a terrifying 400,000 jin. More importantly, he had also condensed a fire pattern, which would allow his physical defense to reach a level where it could resist ordinary spirit artifacts. The fire dragon pattern has already been condensed. The fire thunder dragon body's cultivation will need to be tempered by thunder. The dragon soul's voice was also filled with joy. The fire thunder dragon body had a total of 10 levels, and the power of fire and thunder each had 5 levels. If one wanted to cultivate to the peak, they had to combine fire and thunder. Indeed, it's already very difficult to reach the 5th level with just the power of fire. Qin Yu leaped and left the lava. Then, he took out a set of clothes from the Sumeru ring and put them on. If he wanted to completely condense the fire dragon pattern, he had to fuse with the power of thunder. Just like if he wanted to condense the thunder dragon pattern, he had to absorb the power of fire. Therefore, if Qin Yu continued to cultivate, it would be difficult for him to make any progress in the tempering of the fire thunder dragon body. Qin Yu, who had just come out of the volcano's passage, suddenly narrowed his eyes. In the open space in front of him, there were figures tied to wooden stakes. Chapter 51. Could it be? Qin Yu's eyebrows twitched slightly as he leaped over and stopped moving. He saw that those who were tied to the wooden stakes were indeed the slave miners. They all died from exposure after their limbs were broken. The dragon soul took a look and said, "It seems that this is revenge for you torturing the Tu Xian martial realm." His gaze swept across the faces of the dead slave miners. Qin Yu's eyes flickered with a cold light. At this moment, a burst of weak footsteps entered Qin Yu's ears. After Qin Yu tilted his head to take a look, he discovered that a thin and small figure was stumbling out of the volcanic tunnel he had just come out from. After looking carefully, Qin Yu was a little surprised. That skinny figure was that little girl. The problem was that when Qin Yu came out, he subconsciously used his soul force to sense. Why didn't he find the little girl before? With a flash, Qin Yu's figure appeared in front of that little girl while leaving behind numerous afterimages. Save, the little girl was extremely weak. When she saw Qin Yu, she seemed to have exhausted her last bit of strength and fainted on the ground. After Qin Yu checked, he found that the little girl had fainted because of dehydration and hunger. She seems to have been waiting for you in this volcanic passage. But how did she know that you didn't leave? The dragon soul also looked at the little girl in surprise. Soul force. Qin Yu carefully sensed and his eyes flashed with surprise. This little girl's soul had actually awakened. Is it a special physique? The dragon soul's eyes flashed with light. Without a trace of cultivation, the soul sea had awakened. This could only be because she had a special physique. The soul fluctuations are quite unstable. It seems that she has just awakened not long ago. Qin Yu thought for a moment and pointed at the little girl's forehead to stabilize her soul sea. Half a day later, in an empty cave, Qin Yu, who was meditating cross-legged, had a slight change in expression. The unconscious little girl slowly woke up. Big brother? The little girl opened her eyes in a daze. When she saw Qin Yu beside her, she immediately woke up. Big brother, I beg you, please save my brother, I beg you. The little girl knelt on the ground and kept kowtowing to Qin Yu. What happened? Qin Yu helped her up and asked. From the little girl's anxious voice, Qin Yu figured out the whole story. That day, after Qin Yu had saved them, they had intended to leave the Lei family's territory immediately. But halfway through, her grandfather fell ill, so he went to the clinic to get medicine, leaving traces behind. In the end, on the second night, they were caught up by the Lei clan's troops. Her grandfather was executed directly. In order to let her escape, her brother lured away the pursuers. However, he was caught on the way, but he wasn't killed on the spot. He was only brought back to the Lei family. With no one to rely on, she could only return to the volcano to see if Qin Yu had left. In the end, although she could sense that Qin Yu was in the volcanic area, she was unable to enter the volcanic area due to her lack of cultivation. She could only hide in the volcanic tunnel. Seems like he was stimulated, causing his soul sea to awaken. The dragon soul was enlightened. Such a situation had happened before. Big brother, my brother is still alive. I beg you, please save my brother. After the little girl finished speaking, she kowtowed again. Her forehead was soon stained with blood. At this moment, the only person that she could pray to was the Qin Yu before her. I will make a trip to the Lei family, but so many days have passed. I'm afraid your brother. Looking at the little girl's pleading eyes, Qin Yu recalled the scene in his previous life where he begged his master to save Xingluo. My brother is still alive, I can feel it. Hearing that Qin Yu was willing to go to the Lei family, the little girl cried tears of joy and immediately said, You can feel it? How can you feel it? Qin Yu and the dragon soul were a little strange. Although they didn't know where the Lei family was, at the very least, it wasn't within the range of Qin Yu's spiritual perception. This little girl had just awakened her soul sea. Could it be that she was stronger than him, who had awakened his soul sea? I can't explain it clearly. I can feel my brother's heartbeat. Although it's very weak, my brother is still alive. The little girl said in a daze. Other than your brother, can you feel anyone else? Qin Yu was stunned and asked. I can feel it. The little girl nodded. It was because of this that she avoided the Lei family's pursuit time and time again and returned to this volcano to find Qin Yu. There's something strange. The dragon soul's huge dragon eyes flickered with a deep light as it sized up the little girl. All right, you stay here first. Before I return, don't go anywhere. Qin Yu thought for a while and set up a soul-bewitching array at the entrance of the cave. Immediately, Qin Yu ran in the direction that the little girl said, where the Lei family was. An hour later, Qin Yu appeared in front of an ancient city. That was Flaming Cloud City. Originally, Flaming Cloud City had 5 martial arts families gathered together. But now, only the Lei family was the strongest. As for the reason, it was because the Lei family had climbed up to the second prince of the imperial family and became a relative of the imperial family. Now, the Lei family's mining slaves and other slaves basically came from the other 4 families as well as those who were unwilling to submit to the Lei family. Qin Yu strolled around the city. After understanding the Lei family's strength, he directly came to the Lei family in the center of the city. Halt! Who are you? How dare you barge into my Lei family? Seeing Qin Yu walk towards them, the 4 Xian martial realm guards immediately went up to welcome him. I have something to discuss with your patriarch, Qin Yu said indifferently. Ha, you want to see our patriarch? Who do you think you are? Hurry up and scram or I'll kill you. The 4 Xian martial realm guards glanced at Qin Yu with disdain and waved their hands impatiently. Qin Yu's gaze turned cold as a tyrannical pressure exploded out. The 4 Xian martial realm guards' faces changed as they broke out in a cold sweat. Their legs went soft and they fell to the ground. You dare to commit murder in my Lei family? How dare you? The slightly stronger guard looked at the guards and got up. His face alternated between green and red as killing intent lingered in his eyes. Ever since they had climbed up to the second prince, even those powerful forces in the Zhenwu dynasty had to be polite when they came to their Lei family. This little bastard that came out of nowhere actually dared to scare them. He was simply tired of living. What happened? Following the shout of the guard, the Lei family martialists appeared one by one. The one leading them was a middle-aged man with hazy eyes. His cultivation was at the 4th grade Earth martial realm. Great Commander, I don't know where this little bastard came from. Not only did he want to barge into the family, he even injured our brothers. I suspect that he's a remnant of one of the 4 families, the guard at the door said in a sinister tone. Aren't you too arrogant to injure our Lei family guards in front of our Lei family? That level 4 Earth martial stage guard commander stares at Qin Yu with a sinister look. At such a young age, he was able to defeat 4 Xian martial realm guards. He wasn't weak and probably had some background. But since he dared to touch the Lei family, even if he had some background, he wouldn't be able to leave safely. Chapter 52. Injured. More accurately, he was paralyzed by fear. As Qin Yu spoke, his soul power had already spread out in the Lei family. He's actually still alive. Very quickly, Qin Yu sensed the little boy's aura in the backyard of the Lei family. From what he sensed, he should also be tied to a wooden stake. These 2 siblings are a little strange. Within the divine dragon ancient seal, the dragon soul's voice froze when it heard Qin Yu's words. Rather strange indeed. A strange look flashed across Qin Yu's eyes. One could feel the heartbeat of his elder brother from a few hundred miles away. The other was tied to a wooden stake for more than 10 days, yet he was still alive. His vitality was simply too strong. You. Hearing the words paralyzed by fear, the guard's face turned hot and his gaze became gloomy and resentful. From the looks of it, he couldn't wait to tear Qin Yu into pieces. May I know who you are? Why are you looking for my patriarch? A cold light flashed across the guard's eyes as he inquired about Qin Yu's identity. I'm Qin Yu. Qin Yu said faintly, I'm here to see your patriarch to ask for a person. Qin Yu. The guard commander was stunned for a moment before he regained his senses. You are the one who killed my Lei family. A few days ago, the supervisor of the Lei family's slaves was killed, and the murderer was called Qin Yu. But the elder that they sent to the spiritual dragon city was directly beaten out. They were just thinking about how to take revenge on the Qin family, but they didn't expect Qin Yu to deliver himself to their doorstep. Men, arrest him for me. Immediately, a ferocious killing intent appeared on the guard's face as he prepared to give the order. But before he finished his words, he saw Qin Yu's figure flicker and disappear in front of them. Where is he? The Lei family guards looked at each other with confused expressions on their faces. Hurry up and inform the family head and elders. Then, send someone to seal off the execution ground. That guard commander recalled Qin Yu's words and immediately reacted. He rapidly rushed toward the execution grounds. In the blink of an eye, the entire Lei family was in an uproar. All the martial artists gathered at the execution ground. Someone broke into the execution grounds. In the main hall of the Lei family, the Lei family patriarch, Lei Zongguang, was stunned when he heard the maid's report. After using bloody means to suppress the enemy forces, there was still someone who dared to barge into the Lei family. Lei family head, do you need our help? Lei Zongguang was entertaining 2 young men in their 20s. The 2 young men were wearing the uniform of the Imperial Academy, and the insignia on their bodies indicated that they were students of the Inner Academy. These 2 were both martial kings. Haha, young Master Shen Fang, young Master Bai Yang, it was all thanks to the 2 of you that we were able to quell the chaos previously. How could we trouble the 2 of you for such a small matter? Lei Zongguang chuckled and cupped his fists. His attitude was rather amiable. These 2 were the young talents of the Sacred Academy sent by the second prince, so he naturally didn't dare to order them around. However, I would like to see who dares to barge into the Lei family at this time. Although Lei Zongguang was smiling, his eyes were flashing with ferocious killing intent. Now was the time for the Lei family to establish their dominance. Whoever dared to provoke the Lei family at this time, no matter who it was, they couldn't be let off. Since that's the case, let's go take a look together. The square-faced Xian Fang stood up with a face full of smiles. That's true. After we settle the matters of the Dragon Spirit City's Qin family, we will return to the Sacred Academy directly. If there's really something, let's clean it up before heading to the Dragon Spirit City. Bai Yang, who had pockmarks on his face, also stood up. This mission was personally sent by the second prince, so they naturally couldn't be careless. Lei Zongguang was naturally happy. Xian Fang and Bai Yang's battle strength was unmatched in the Flaming Cloud City. With the two of them, even if there were really troublesome people who barged in, there was no need to worry. At this moment, at the Lei family's execution ground, Qin Yu saw the little boy. Just as he had sensed, the little boy was tied to a wooden stake and unconscious. Looking at his body, his skin was torn and his flesh was lacerated. Even his bones were vaguely visible. It was obvious that he had been tortured after being caught. Qin Yu put him down, crushed a spiritual pill, and fed it into his mouth to heal his internal injuries. What shocking vitality! While Qin Yu was feeding him the pill, the dragon soul sensed the little boy's situation and said in shock. With the injuries that the little boy had suffered, a normal person, even an adult, would have died long ago. But deep within the little boy's body, there was a shocking vitality. From that vitality, even if the little boy was tied up for a month without eating or drinking, he wouldn't die. One has an extraordinary soul power, and the other has shocking vitality. Qin Yu's eyes flickered with surprise. The siblings were indeed extraordinary. They really came for that little bastard. At this moment, the guard commander had already led a group of guards to the execution ground with a murderous look on his face. Qin Yu picked up the unconscious boy and strode towards the Lei clan's martial artists who were blocking the entrance. I'll only say this once. Make way or die. Qin Yu did not stop walking as he spoke indifferently. You dare to barge into my Lei family, the rank 4 Earth Martial Realm Guard commander coldly snorted as he stared at Qin Yu with cold killing intent. But before he could finish his words, his pupils suddenly shrank to the size of pinholes, and the cold killing intent in his eyes was replaced by a thick color of shock. Sky. Martial Realm. At this moment, the guard commander's lips parted as he felt the fluctuations of true energy from Qin Yu's body. He had never imagined that this youth, who looked like he was only 15 or 16 years old, would actually be in the Sky Martial Realm. A mere Sky Martial Realm. I want to see how you will make my Lei family members die. Just as the guard commander and the others were about to retreat, an ice-cold voice sounded. It was Lei Zongguang who came with a group of Lei family elders. Behind Lei Zongguang and the others, Xian Fang and Bai Yang slowly walked over. It was only a Sky Martial Realm cultivator. The Lei family was completely capable of dealing with him. However, to be able to reach the Sky Martial Realm at such a young age, it made them curious as to which power this genius belonged to. Inner courtyard student. Qin Yu swept his gaze over Lei Zongguang and the others. He was slightly surprised when he saw Xian Fang and Bai Yang. He did not expect to encounter Imperial Academy's inner courtyard students here. However, one was a rank 2 Martial King and one was a rank 3 Martial King. Qin Yu did not put them in his eyes at all. Brat, you dare to barge into my Lei family and even dare to threaten us. You have quite the nerve. State your name. Lei Zongguang's face was ice-cold as he stared at Qin Yu with killing intent. At this moment, the guard commander immediately went up to Lei Zongguang and reported in a low voice. So it's you. First, you killed my Lei family members and now you dare to barge into my Lei family. Do you really think there's no one in my Lei family? After hearing that, the killing intent on Lei Zongguang's face became even more intense. So it's this brat. It seems that there's no need for us to go to the Dragon Spirit City. Hearing that, Xian Fang smiled. Indeed. Capture this brat and have the Qin family members obediently come over and beg for forgiveness. Then, execute them all. Bai Yang crossed his arms and said with a smile. Chapter 53. Go to Dragon Spirit City. Ask the Qin family to come and ask for forgiveness, and then execute them all. Hearing Xian Fang and Bai Yang's words, Qin Yu's eyes flashed with killing intent. You are also from the Lei family? Although we are not from the Lei family, since you have offended the Lei family, you have offended us. Xian Fang smiled proudly. Boy, I'll give you a chance. Break one of your arms, destroy your cultivation, and kneel in front of Fire Cloud City for 9 days and 9 nights. If you don't die, I'll let you go. Bai Yang had a mocking expression. Very well. I originally wanted to let you go for the sake of the Sacred Institute, but now, none of you will live. Qin Yu's voice suddenly turned gloomy and ice-cold. For the sake of the Sacred Institute? Xian Fang and Bai Yang were stunned. Was Qin Yu also a student of the Sacred Institute? Little bastard, you dare to be so arrogant after killing people from the Lei family. Today, I'll let you die without a burial place, and then I'll let the Qin family be slaves for generations to come. Lei Zongguang couldn't suppress the killing intent in his eyes as he gave the order ferociously. Take him down, whoosh, whoosh. Following Lei Zongguang's order, the 5 elders of the Lei family in the Sky Martial realm rushed out and attacked Qin Yu crazily. Die. Qin Yu rolled up his true essence and carried the little boy on his back. His body flashed, and many shadows appeared. In the next moment, many powerful war dragon fists rushed out like wild dragons. Bang! 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 Sounds of explosions appeared one after another. Those Heaven Realm cultivators that were attacking Qin Yu were like balloons. They all exploded and turned into a bloody mist, scattering in the air. How could? Lei Zongguang's eyes widened in disbelief. 5 Sky Martial Realm cultivators had been killed in an instant. Was Qin Yu's cultivation really only at the first level of the Sky Martial Realm? A king-level martial technique? Xian Fang and Bai Yang were also stunned. He had mastered a king-level martial technique at the first level of the Sky Martial Realm. His talent in martial arts was too terrifying. Swish, swish. After blowing up the 5 Heaven Realm people, Qin Yu's body flashed and dozens of lifelike illusions appeared, causing the Lei family cultivators to be unable to capture Qin Yu's body. Not good. Lei family head. Xian Fang and Bai Yang were the first to react. Their expressions changed as they rushed towards Lei Zongguang. It would be fine if all the other members of the Lei clan died, but if Lei Zongguang died, it would be difficult to explain to the second prince. Raging waves of the sea. Xian Fang and Bai Yang also failed to capture Qin Yu's true body. Therefore, as he charged out, Bai Yang formed a seal with both hands, and a majestic tidal true yuan burst forth like a surging wave. Wherever the true essence tide passed, regardless of whether it was Qin Yu's phantoms or the Lei family's martial artists, they were all swept away. Bang! Qin Yu punched the berserk tide of true essence and leapt backwards. Shattering finger. However, as Qin Yu leapt backwards, he jabbed a finger at Lei Zongguang. A faint black war dragon true yuan tore through the air like a sharp sword, attacking Lei Zongguang at lightning speed. Even though Lei Zongguang had a true yuan shield, it still pierced through it. Poochie. Lei Zongguang vomited a large mouthful of blood. There was a bloody fingerprint on his chest. If he had not reacted in time and moved to the side, his heart would have been pierced. Young Master Xian Fang, Young Master Bai Yang, quickly kill him. Kill him. Lei Zongguang, who had just survived the calamity, was pale. His body trembled as he pointed at Qin Yu in horror. Lei Zongguang had just taken a trip to the gates of hell and experienced the true feeling of death. If he let Qin Yu escape today, he would not be able to sleep peacefully in the future. You dodged pretty quickly. Qin Yu coldly glanced at Xian Fang and Bai Yang, who were protecting Lei Zongguang, and executed the 100 Shadow Demonic Art once more. The might of a 9th grade heaven-ranked movement technique was displayed to the fullest by him. Bang! 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 However, Qin Yu's target this time was not Lei Zongguang, but the other cultivators of the Lei family. In the blink of an eye, the Lei family's Earth Martial Realm and Sky Martial Realm elders fell one after another under Qin Yu's hands. Damn it! This scene caused Lei Zhongguang's eyes to widen and his heart to bleed. These were the seedlings of the Lei family, but now, they were all killed by Qin Yu. Their Lei family's strength would definitely fall to the level of an ordinary small faction. Enough. Xian Fang stood out. His square face was filled with chilling intent. In front of two martial kings, Qin Yu actually dared to kill without any fear. He was simply too arrogant. Why? Are you in such a hurry to die? Qin Yu punched an elder of the Lei family, then turned around and looked at Xian Fang with an indifferent gaze. Brat, the Lei family is now a subordinate force of the second prince. Do you know the consequences of attacking a cultivator of the Lei family? Xian Fang's right hand moved and a 5-foot-long saber appeared. A tyrannical saber qi swept out. It was a peak-grade profound spiritual weapon. I really don't know. Why don't you tell me? Qin Yu smiled indifferently. He was the emperor of Shenron. Even if he had reincarnated, why would he be afraid of the son of a dynasty? Exterminate the 9 generations. Xian Fang's eyes darkened as he spat out these 4 words. Haha, that will depend on whether he has the ability or not. Qin Yu smiled lightly, not caring at all. As he spoke, Qin Yu's finger moved again. Streaks of faint black true yuan pierced through the air and killed several Qin family cultivators who were far away. This made Lei Zhongguang gnash his teeth in anger, but there was nothing he could do. Even he had almost died in the hands of Qin Yu. He could only hope that Xian Fang would kill Qin Yu as soon as possible. The second prince is the most talented person among all the princes. He will become the crown prince and inherit the throne in the future. Do you think the second prince has the ability? Xian Fang's eyes twitched and his face darkened. Qin Yu's speed was too fast. Even he couldn't save the Lei family cultivators in time. If he really dares to do that, he won't be far from death. Qin Yu indifferently spat out a sentence. As long as he could get the 1,000 poison inky dragon in the secret realm of the Royal Academy, he wouldn't be afraid of the Zhenwu dynasty. If he was really angered, he would directly destroy the Zhenwu dynasty. How dare you? How dare you be disrespectful to the second prince? Die. Xian Fang was enraged. Mysterious spiritual inscriptions appeared on the saber in his hand and he slashed it in the air. The air rippled like water. A long saber radiance tore through the air and slashed toward Qin Yu with a destructive force. Third-grade King Martial technique, destruction slash. A smile appeared on the corner of Qin Yu's mouth. With a light step, he dodged that destructive blade ray. On the other hand, many of the Lei family cultivators who were hiding far away didn't react in time and were cut in half by the saber radiance. When the other Lei family cultivators saw this, they were scared out of their wits and quickly left the execution ground. The power is not bad. Qin Yu appeared on Xian Fang's left with a series of afterimages. He glanced at the Lei clan's martial practitioners who were innocently implicated and said with a smile,